Our main character is named Tai Hao. With his extraordinary smarts and brilliant business skills, he was destined from a young age to become the heir of the Manhwa trading group. But ironically, he suffers from a strange illness that keeps his body weak and frail. So he always refuses to take over as the leader of the Manhwa trading group. But one day, everyone close to him, including his beloved older brother, gets killed. Luckily, when he opens his eyes again, he unexpectedly travels back in time to his teenage years. There, he resolves to train his body and skills to avenge his family and stop that tragedy from happening again. Before the tragedy hits, Taehao's older brother is telling him he wants to hand over the trading group leadership to him. This leaves Taehao totally surprised and doubting his ears. He's confused because that position is meant for the eldest son and he's just the youngest. What kind of order would that be if he took charge? But his older brother insists that Taehao's business skills far outshine his own. Thanks to Taehao, the Manhwa trading group went from average to one of the top 3 strongest groups. So the real credit goes to him. But Taehao still seems hesitant about something. Taehao clenches his fists, his face showing clear determination. He just wants to live comfortably in the background. Then Taehao sighs and complains as the leader he'd have to smile and schmooze with annoying people all day. If the reputation tanks, he'd be the one taking the fall. So Taehao doesn't want to risk his life over that. His older brother doesn't say a word after hearing that. Taehao looks at him seriously and the atmosphere suddenly goes dead silent. At that moment, his older brother lets out a little chuckle. He compromises because that's what Taehao thinks. Now his face shows a kind smile. He lets Taehao decide for himself. Cut to the scene in a massive fire that destroys everything. Taehao's older brother, who was just laughing now, has his head chopped off. Everything's engulfed in flames. All that Taehao's family built is now just ashes. This place has turned into a bloody massacre. His lifelong guardian, Do-Ak, is now lying there with his head severed. The scene is brutally violent. Everyone from the financial directors to the managers, deputies, military leaders, outer guards, inner guards, the head of An Fong Guard, and all the upper division heads, everyone Taehao knew has fallen. Now only he survives with one arm chopped off. Taehao is utterly exhausted, staring at the person in front of him. In front of him is the one who killed everyone, Nam Kung Kung, the chairman of the Bok Thien group. His sword is pointed right at Taehao's throat. He smiles wickedly, but there's a hint of hesitation as he has to kill him himself. Taehao is baffled because the Bok Thien trading group is under the martial arts alliance leader, a powerful force on the righteous side, yet they're doing this. Nam Kung Kung softly explains because Taehao's family was blocking their path to survival. The rumors reached the higher-ups. He looks smug, saying they should have known better from the start. And money is just a tool, nothing more. Taehao laughs scornfully. It's because they're incompetent that they lost in business. Yet now they dare call money worthless. That makes Taehao burst out laughing. Nam Kung Kung frowns and asks what he just said. As he casts a spell, Taehao taunts him, "Are you deaf or what?" He angrily raises his fist toward him. Taehao is completely drained, collapsing to his knees. But before he can fight back, he gets kicked hard by him. Taehao is completely drained, collapsing to his knees. His body keeps trembling. Nam Kung Kung raises his sword, ready to finish Taehao. Taehao's eyes are blank like he's lost his soul. With one swing, his head is severed and he doesn't even know if it's real or a dream. In the martial arts world, a merchant's life is as light as smoke. Taehao's eyes slowly close. He blames himself. He should have learned martial arts earlier. If the Manhwa trading group had been stronger, maybe he wouldn't have to die today. Suddenly, a voice calling "Young Master" jolts his dull eyes awake. He wakes up, and after just being beheaded, Taehao is now in a different setting. The person in front of him keeps asking Han. According to him, Taehao isn't feeling well, but today is his first day on the job. He wonders why he's dozing off. Taehao is half asleep, half awake, rubbing his eyes. He doesn't get what's happening and wonders if he's still alive. The person in front is sternly telling him to review last year's trade files and write them up as documents. Taehao feels everything going dark before his eyes and his ears ringing. The figure in front of him is blurry. Then he sees it as Nam Kung Kung from before and raises his fist to strike. But with his novice skills, Taehao misses. He doesn't land a hit and ends up getting smacked hard on the head by the person. The pain jolts Taehao back to reality, realizing this isn't a dream and that person isn't Nam Kung Kung. His eyes show a fuzzy image. Taehao feels familiar with it, and then he recognizes it's the head manager, Do-Ak. Taehao is stunned because he thought he died long ago, yet here he is alive. He pulls at his ears in despair, thinking he's in hell. This drives Dutoak crazy, thinking he hasn't woken up yet. Dutoak puts on a scary face, complaining that he's trained 3 young masters and none ever dared to point fingers at him. He's implying only Tai Hao, the youngest, is whining too much, so he makes up an excuse that it was just a dream in his days. Then he dismisses him from work and orders him to go to his room and reflect at the ancestral hall. Inside, Tai Hao is sitting quietly with a warm piece of meat in front of him. He still vividly remembers the moment of his death, and now being scolded by Dutoak like this confuses him. Tai Hao recalls reviewing last year's trade files was his first task when he started learning the business. He remembers getting yelled at badly that day, too. A thought suddenly flashes in his mind. Then Tai Hao calls out for Ung Nam. Immediately, his personal guard, Ung Nam, appears. Tai Hao straight up asks how old he is this year. She lands on the ground and says, "Did that hit make you forget your own age?" Tai Hao insists on knowing and repeats his question. As she fixes her hair, Ung Nam replies yesterday was exactly his 15th birthday. Hearing that, Tai Hao's face freezes in shock. To confirm, he repeats 15 years old. Deep down, Tai Hao is panicking because he's supposed to be 39. Ung Nam seriously reminds him he was just yelling at the manager and now he's asking his own age. She thinks he's out of his mind and offers to get him a doctor. Tai Hao is still confused, looking at his palm and noticing no calluses. It's still soft and youthful. This makes Tai Hao rethink he really has gone back to the past. Then he slaps his face hard to check again. This startles Ung Nam. She shakes him and asks what stupid thing he's doing. Tai Hao just blankly says one word, ouch. He still can't believe it since he clearly died. The memory of his death is crystal clear. Back then, he was about to die from Nam Kung Kung slicing his throat, right up to that final moment. Remembering that, Tai Hao feels a burning pain in his throat and realizes it's all real. At that moment, Ung Nam is looking at him with total confusion. Tai Hao is lost in his thoughts about going back in time and how the Bak-themed trading group betrayed them. Tai Hao grits his teeth. He swears that won't happen again. He remembers the dangers from his past life clearly and knows how to overcome them. He'll use that to build his strength and face the martial arts alliance leader. Then he remembers something. Tai Hao calls out to Ung Nam again. "Was yesterday really your 15th birthday?" She confirms it again and asks what's wrong with him today. Tai Hao spreads his hands to calculate the year based on the era. He laughs helplessly because it's just 1 week until that event. Tai Hao calls Ung Nam seriously. She's at a loss, wondering what he'll say next. Tai Hao tells her that they need to do something. Ung Nam is confused about what that is. In the room, there's just one person confused, and the other insisting they do it. Cut to nighttime. A hand is opening and closing some object. A voice asks, "Are you sure?" A mysterious, hooded young man is holding a sturdy item. He reveals he's heard about it since yesterday. That the young master has started working at the main hall, and his guard is quite skilled. The fat guy in front of him wonders if they can act without getting caught by those people. The hooded one scoffs, saying the young master is seriously ill and won't last much longer. He can't even walk without a crutch, let alone fight. He stuffs the item in his hand into his pocket. He reveals he's already planned for that guard. His eyes gleam eerily. If needed, he can kill to silence them. The fat guy laughs wickedly because the master was once a skilled fighter. But this guy doesn't seem scared. He thinks Tai Hao is just doomed from the start, always sick and weak. At that moment, his face turns terrifying. He even thinks what he's doing might spare Tai Hao a few days of suffering. He figures he's probably waiting to die in despair anyway. On Tai Hao's side, Ung Nam is calling his name. Tai Hao is bundled up, holding binoculars, sitting on a guard's shoulder. She asks helplessly, "What are you up to in the middle of the night?" Tai Hao focuses while complaining, "You know I'm weak. Times like this I need to move around more. Who knows, I might find something good. Besides wandering around like this, I might find something good." Ung Nam is confused about what that good thing is. Tai Hao thinks of an image of some fruit. For example, he laughs happily, a rare and precious elixir. Blood drips onto the floor. Ung Nam is covered in wounds with 2 arrows stuck deep in her. She puts her hand on Tai Hao's shoulder and says, "Get out of here." Tai Hao frowns, worried and helpless. "How can I go anywhere without you?" Ung Nam struggles to breathe. "This is my duty. I've prepared for this for a long time. I'm fine, so you need to run now." She begs Tai Hao, "Even if I die here, as long as it's not in vain, that's enough." Tai Hao tries to argue, but before he can, Ung Nam sharply scolds, "You've never listened to me from the beginning." Her eyes become more determined. "Do you want to make my death meaningless?" This kid is really annoying. Suddenly, a group rushes in, yelling, "Get them!" Yam picks up her sword from the ground and says her final words, Tai Hao. She charges at the assassins and instructs, you have to survive no matter what. I know you'll soar high, go far, and break through all limits. Before sacrificing herself, Nam turns back and smiles at him. Do you understand? Tai Hao thinks to himself. If I had to name the two people I trust most across lifetimes, one is my guard, Nam. Yam glances back coldly at Tai Hao, and the other is my servant, Batjap. Batjap is shivering his nose red, saying, Master it's so cold. Meanwhile, Tai Hao is deep in his thoughts. What I'm looking for now is an elixir that could cause a bloody massacre in the near future. Only these two can I trust to search for it with me. Yam next to him is shaking, grumbling, Man, it's freezing me to death. This is so frustrating. She asks suspiciously, So what are we even looking for? Tai Hao replies, Over there, don't you see it? He points to a tree with a small light on it. Exactly there, look at that fruit. Tai Hao thinks an elixir on par with 1,000-year snow ginseng called the pure ice snow plum. Yam uses her hands as binoculars and looks in that direction. Then she glances at Tai Hao. What does it do? He answers, an elixir that can cure my condition. Yam frowns. Is it okay to use an elixir I barely know about? We have plenty of elixirs at home already. Tai Hao glances at her and retorts, No, those won't work. He thinks to himself, my condition isn't just simple meridian damage. Actually, Tai Hao has a rare condition called Huyanlong Chi Te, which means he's born with extremely strong yin energy. For women, they can naturally balance that yin energy and become top-tier masters. But for men, it clashes with yang energy and slowly kills them. The only way to fix it is to absorb an elixir with yin energy during puberty to convert the body's energy. Tai Hao frowns a bit regretful. I learned about this too late in my past life, and unfortunately I couldn't get the pure ice snow plum because it's so rare. Tai Hao falls silent. Yam speaks up. Aren't you going to explain what's happening? Tai Hao replies, Let me off the hook this time. She sighs wearily. He's completely helpless and softly says, Please. She sighed wearily. I don't know who you take after, but you never listen to this guard. Still, Nam insisted, I'm just going there to help you. I'll be back quick. With that, she dashed off. From behind, Shihao and Bajia cheered enthusiastically. Go for it, Nam. Looking at her, Shihao pondered, I don't think I'm stronger than you, but I'll give it my all. So this time, don't die for me. Nam stood under the tree, commenting, That's way too high. I'm over it. A few days later, bright sunlight bathed the grounds of the Yin-Xia trading group. He bowed respectfully to the three young masters. The servant saw Shihao and bowed. Young Master 3, you're up already. He replied, Good morning. Shihao turned and smiled, waving at Nam and Bajia. Good morning to both of you. Nam looked at him, her face darkening. Yeah. In her mind, she thought, How can you even say good morning? These past few days, whose fault is it that we've all been coughing non-stop? As soon as Shihao turned away, the two servants approached. Hey, guard Nam, what's up? The two servants, one after the other, voiced their doubts. Don't you think the young master seems a bit different lately? I feel like he's walking with so much energy and vitality. Those two went on chattering. Isn't he noticeably taller than before? He used to be shorter than me. The other agreed. Exactly, so I'm not the only one who's noticed, huh? Suddenly a petite girl jumped in. His face has completely changed too, she said shyly. Yeah, he was already a handsome guy, but now he's like one of the most stunning hunks in the world. Those two chatted, but he talks like some old folks now. When he says good morning, it sounds like it's coming from some head steward. That girl shot back, but I also think he's kind of cute in his own way. He's really adorable. Over here, Nam heard this and her face darkened. She waved them off. How dare you gossip about the young master who's not even fully grown? Get back to work, that servant said. Well, by age, he's already an adult. You're right. Nam thought to herself, Lately the young master has been taking the elixir I got from the mountain and gone through a total rebirth. Shihao's body shuddered, trembled as his muscles and joints transformed. He suddenly opened his eyes wide. Shihao raised his hand, signaling, You two know what to do, right? Keep it secret. Nam sighed. Clearly he's changed. How long does he plan to hide this? It's annoying. She muttered as she walked. Oh well, as long as he's healthy, that's what matters. If he gets sick again, I won't let him off easy. The scene shifts to the treasury pavilion. A man stood there silently. What? How is that possible? He looked at the papers on the table and shouted, Unbelievable, you finished everything in just 2 hours. This person is the 7th-rank scholar of the Treasury Pavilion Yu Xiangyi. He examined the papers while marveling, this should take at least 2 days. Are you sure you did everything correctly? Xihao hesitated, then scratched his face awkwardly. I didn't compile the whole document myself, just summarized it. It's not as hard as you make it sound. At that moment, he wasn't the young master of the Yinxia trading group, but a member of the Treasury Pavilion Yen Shihao. Xihao frowned, biting his lip. Darn it, I should have played it off as more clumsy. I've done this kind of work my whole life in the past, so I'm used to it. And now that I'm in better shape, I finished faster. Yu Xiangyi called out to him, making Shihao jump. Young master? Yu Xiangyi adjusted his glasses. I might be overstepping, but even the smallest task in the Treasury Pavilion requires utmost care. A trading group's funds are like blood in a person's veins. If it leaks from even a tiny hole, what do you think the consequences would be? Xihao furrowed his brow in surprise. Oh, he sighed. Are you saying I rushed through it and messed up? Yu Xiangyi replied, you did it way too fast. In his mind, he thought, plus your reputation in the Treasury Pavilion is already notorious. Just a few days ago, you dozed off for half an hour and argued with the internal affairs head. How could someone like that pull this off? Xihao looked at Yu Xiangyi and sighed. Clearly, he's looking down on me. He crossed his arms and smiled. Want to make a bet? Yu Xiangyi was startled. Bet on what? Xihao answered. I'll submit these to the internal affairs head right now. Let's see if he approves them. This grumpy old man is the internal affairs head of the Yinxia trading group Du So-yi. Yu Xiangyi said he's going to blow up for sure. Are you really up for this bet? Xihao confidently replied. Let's just go and see. Yu Xiangyi thought to himself, that arrogant attitude of his needs a lesson. Bet on what? Xihao smiled and replied. He nodded in agreement. All right. Bet on what? Xihao smiled and replied, the loser has to handle all the remaining documents today. Yu Xiangyi agreed. Deal. Xihao added, and the loser has to perform the young master's dance at my elder brother's inauguration ceremony. What do you think? Yu Xiangyi frowned, looking up at Xihao. Heavens. In his mind, he marveled, is this kid messing with me? Yu Xiangyi couldn't hold back and loudly agreed, fine, let's do it. Xihao looked at him, no backing out. Yu Xiangyi confidently responded, that's what I should be saying to you. The 9th-rank scholar nearby scratched his face. I think you guys are getting a bit carried away. Yu Xiangyi angrily snapped, don't butt in on a man's duel. The 9th-rank scholar turned away, but I'm your senior, Xihao said. Let's head over then. Yu Xiangyi immediately agreed, okay. Su-yi examined the papers a bit skeptical. Did you really do all this yourself? Even the bosses couldn't handle it. Xihao smiled triumphantly. Meanwhile, Yu Xiangyi's face darkened, sweat pouring down. He urged, please check it thoroughly, there must be mistakes. Su-yi frowned, demanding, what are you doubting me? Yu Xiangyi felt wronged and shouted, I've worked at the Treasury Pavilion for years and never passed on the first try. How could a newbie like you? Before he finished, Su-yi smacked him with the paper. He scolded, are your glasses just for show? Xihao stood by thinking, it's not that he's incompetent. The head's standards are just unreasonably strict. He patted Yu Xiangyi on the shoulder. Anyway, I can't wait to see your young master's dance. With that, he left. Yu Xiangyi tried to stop him. Wait. But Xihao had already slammed the door shut. Xihao stepped out with a smile, always radiating a fresh vibe. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out, making Xihao jump. You seem in a good mood, young master. He continued taunting. How can someone who only causes worry for his father and brother still giggle around everywhere? What a jerk. This person is the 2nd young master of the Yinxia trading group Yin Zhanhao. A painful image flashed through Shihao's mind. He stared at Zhanhao in shock for a long moment. Finally, Shihao called out, making him jump. Brother Zhanhao! He shouted angrily. Why are you suddenly acting all chummy with me? Want to die? Shihao frowned, thinking, oh, right, things are still tense between us right now. Zhanhao said seriously, I'm against you studying too. If it makes you sicker from the hard work, it'll just worry father more. Shihao stayed silent, thinking, well, that's not wrong. Zhanhao turned away. When you see father, don't keep acting all sickly. He glared coldly at Shihao, threatening, if you pass out like last time, I'll kill you. Shihao bowed, okay, I'll be careful. Zhanhao looked at the scene, frowning in annoyance. What a pain. Then he stormed into the room, slamming the door. Shihao thought to himself, this is the first time he's met his father and brothers since returning here. He easily lifted the staff off the ground. Shihao smiled, marveling, there's so much I need to show them. In the midst of flames and chaos, the man's face showed extreme panic and pain. Ah! From his past life's memories, a fire will break out at the Treasury Pavilion in a few days. In that fire, a low-level official on night duty died, and all the records were destroyed, causing massive damage. And that incident was a carefully planned arson by someone. Back to the present, Xiang Yi slammed the document on the table, his face as black as thunder, looking terrible. Xihao stood not far away, thinking, to stop that from happening, I first need a reason to act freely without restrictions. Xiang Yi mumbled something under his breath. Oh, the dance. He grumbled, glaring at Xihao. Why are you staring at me like that? Feeling awkward about staring, Xihao spoke up. Nothing, may I come in? Looking at Xiang Yi, Xihao's mind was in turmoil. To do that, I first need to change how others see me. At the Yinsha Trading Group's main headquarters, he sat with Zheng Hu and Zhang Hao waiting for Ji Xiang to eat, but the atmosphere was tense. Seeing this, Zheng Hu spoke up first to break the awkward silence. Zhang Hao, how's work at the upper division going? It's way different from the Ji Feng Pavilion. Zhang Hao sipped his tea casually and replied, Actually, since it's more hands-on and less brain work, it feels easier. Maybe it's more my style for field work. He just sat quietly listening to his brother's talk. Not planning to say anything, but unexpectedly, Zheng Hu addressed him. Xihao, I hear you've just started at the Treasury Pavilion, right? Oof. Caught off guard, Xihao replied, Yes, brother. Noticing Xihao's overreaction, he gently reassured him, Learning is good, but don't rush it. I'm worried you'll push yourself too hard. Sensing Zheng Hu's sincerity, Xihao said while thinking about him, Please don't worry, brother. I'm working within my limits, no forcing it. Big brother has always been like that, even now. And because of that in this life, he recalled Zheng Hu's tragic state before dying. Xihao's eyes were full of sadness. I absolutely don't want to see him like that ever again. Suddenly, Zhang Hao spoke up, drawing Xihao and Zheng Hu's attention. What a joke. He frowned mockingly, not pushing too hard. For you, anything beyond lying around eating is too hard, right? Zheng Hu couldn't stand it and loudly scolded, Yin Zhan Hao, is that how you talk to your brother? Sai Hao knew his place and just thought it without speaking. It's the medicine, really. Zhan Hao's just being rude, clearly looking down on him. Because you keep protecting him like that, that's why the kid doesn't know his own limits. His eyes full of disdain. Do we have to keep using all our resources to support that burden forever? That useless thing in this family. Zheng Hao was shocked by Zhan Hao's harsh words and quickly scolded, That's going too far. But he shot back, too far. Isn't that what everyone in this family silently agrees on? His words grew even more bitter. A guy who coughs up blood after every win and needs a cane to walk. What can he do for the Yinsha Trading Group? Xihao just sat silently listening to the harsh words. He never realized how useless everyone thought he was. Words like that from family sting even at 40. But anyway, that's something I have to deal with myself. Xihao finally called out, making Zhan Hao jump and look over. Brother Zhan Hao, if you hate me, just say it outright. Zhan Hao angrily shouted, I told you not to call me by my name. Used to his hot temper, Xihao didn't argue and just gently reminded, Okay, but father's coming soon, so let's stop here. He'd probably love to see us like this. Then he turned to Zheng Hu. Big brother, please calm down, I'm fine. Hearing that he agreed, You're right, I got a bit carried away. But Zheng Hu couldn't help suspecting. After all, they're brothers who grew up together, so changes are noticeable. What's this? He usually seems sharp, but today he gives off an unusually mature vibe, Zheng Hu thought while staring at Xihao. Suddenly, the servant's voice came from the door. The master has finished his meal. Hearing that Zheng Hu and Xihao looked toward the door, Zheng Hu spoke as Xihao reacted, He's here. Yang, surprised at the sight of him, his eyes lit up. All worries seemed to vanish. All worries seemed to vanish, or father. Or father, the man stepped in slowly. Seeing his father, Zheng Hu quickly greeted, You're here, father? He answered warmly, I'm a bit late. The meeting went longer than expected. Zhan Hao lied to ease his guilt. It's fine, we just sat down too. Seeing Xihao silent, Ji Xiang worriedly asked, Xihao, your face looks a bit flushed today. Is something wrong? Xihao didn't realize his eyes had welled up. No, father, it's not like that. It's just because you witnessed our father in his final breath and couldn't do anything. So my face turned red because in my past life memories I still clearly remember his last appearance. He lay there pale and lifeless on the sickbed. Not hearing you say anything more, he spoke up first. Or is there something you want to say? Hao was still lost in his own jumbled thoughts and emotions, because right now with my youthful appearance I can finally bury that memory deep inside. He bit his lip and told himself, snap out of it, Hao. Hao hung his head down on the table. This kind of emotional turmoil isn't like you at all. In this life that hasn't happened yet, so just focus on the main goal of protecting the trading group. Tae-hao slumped his head on the table and sighed softly. Quickly, he swallowed his tears and looked up, saying to him, "Yes, you're right, Father. I actually have something to report to you." Kat-tung replied curiously, "Is that so? Sit down and tell me slowly." Tae-hao obediently replied to him, "Yes, Father. Sit down and tell me slowly." During the meal, he gradually recounted everything. "Do you remember the conversation we had before I started my apprenticeship at Tai-kin Pavilion?" Kat-tung sat across from him, casually picking up food and answering, "Of course I remember." He recalled the time when he and Kat-tung talked about letting him study at Tai-kin Pavilion. "Wasn't it because I was born with a weak body, so you said I just needed to grasp the basics and then end the apprenticeship?" Back to the present. Tae-hao's words carried a sharp edge. "But Father, do you really think that's enough? Won't I have to take on the responsibility of leading the team later?" Chan-hao was startled by that, but he didn't dare speak up. What got into this kid all of a sudden? He slammed his hand on the table right after hearing it. However, Kat-tung's face was calmer than his sudden action. "What you said isn't wrong, so what are you getting at?" Tae-hao quickly stated his wish, which was also a way to prove he wasn't as weak as Chan-hao said. "I want to be like my brothers and the other team members to take on all the work fully, including the night shifts." Kat-tung answered quickly without any hesitation or thought about his request. "I won't allow it." His firm answer left Tae-hao speechless. Chan-hao whispered judgments from the side. Ching-ho spoke up for Tae-hao. "Father, isn't that a bit too blunt?" But he stuck firmly to his decision. No means no. Kat-tung explained calmly, "Especially night shifts, which involve staying up all night and patrolling duties. With your current health, there's no way you can handle it." He tried to soothe Tae-hao. "Other tasks we can consider, but not night shifts, you understand, right?" He knew he couldn't get his father's approval because he was just worried about his health. Before, it wasn't possible. But to prevent the fire at Tai-kin Pavilion, I have to be on night shift the day it happens to stop that incident from recurring. Tae-hao became even more insistent. "If I can prove that my current condition is strong enough for night shifts, will you allow it?" Kat-tung didn't make it hard for him. "Of course, but how do you plan to prove it?" Just waiting for that, Tae-hao turned to look at Chan-hao, who was innocently caught in the crossfire. "I want to spar with you." Ching-ho was stunned as if he couldn't believe his ears. "What?" Kat-tung didn't expect Tae-hao to use Chan-hao to prove himself. Of course, the main character here is Chan-hao, who was more shocked than anyone. "Did I hear that right, bro? Have you lost your mind?" Contrary to his thoughts, Tae-hao had a very confident look. "What's the matter? Do you think I'll lose?" Chin-ho lost his cool and slammed his hand on the table. "Tae-hao, what are you even saying?" As if anticipating he'd do that, he calmly asked, "Is something wrong?" Then Tae-hao boldly said what he was thinking. "Both father and my brothers are always worried about my health. If that's the case, isn't reassuring you all a form of filial duty?" Every word he said was completely reasonable. "As far as I know, my two brothers have already reached the first-class realm. If I can perform well in front of such high-level masters, that would clearly prove I'm capable of handling all the work at Tai-kin Pavilion." Chan-hao was furious, his face veins bulging. Father, his face darkened as he said, "What Tae-hao said does make some sense. Please allow this spar." Poor Chin-ho didn't expect Chan-hao to agree with Tae-hao's idea. Chan-hao hadn't even finished speaking when Kat-tung interrupted, "Go ahead with what you all want." This time, Kat-tung agreed. Chin-ho felt like his ears were drooping. Father casually picked up food. "Well, kids need to butt heads to grow up." "That's enough, Tae-hao. That kid needs to learn to take responsibility for his words." As he picked up food, he gently added, "Everyone will face challenges eventually." Kat-tung still had some thoughts in his mind. "As for you, maybe that moment is now." Seeing his father agree, Tae-hao sighed in relief and thought about him. "You don't believe I can accomplish anything, not even 1%. But that's understandable." Still, he set requirements instead of just vaguely agreeing to Tae-hao's request. "If you can hold your own even for a moment, I'll let you take on all the work, including night shifts. Can you do it?" Tae-hao bowed in thanks. "Thank you for giving me this chance." Father Chin-ho finally sat down, rubbing his pounding head. He rubbed his forehead and advised Tae-hao, "If it gets dangerous, surrender right away. It's not shameful." He was happy with the caring advice. "I'll keep that in mind." Then suddenly Tae-hao glanced aside. "But I might not even need it." Hearing that Chan Hao was so angry, his eyes widened. Time flew by quickly. Soon the day came when the two faced each other on the arena. Brotherly bonds were set aside for now. Nam and Jap held the drumsticks, their souls hanging by a thread. Somewhere a crow cawed overhead. When he realized it, Nam shouted in panic, "Young master, why are you fighting on the arena? You could barely walk a few steps earlier, and now—" Unlike Nam, he calmly walked in with his staff. He even greeted Nam, "Hey there." Then he turned back to them, signaling to stay quiet. Maybe he has a plan. Jap comforted Nam. "The young master will be fine." She knew that, but she couldn't help worrying about him. "I hope so." Over there, Chin Ho was just as worried. Everyone knew this fight's outcome from the start. "Father, aren't you worried?" Cat Tung stood nearby, staring intently at the arena, his heart boiling inside. Why worry so much? He knew Chan Hao's personality well, so his worry was natural. Chan Hao has always shown disdain toward Tae Hao. I'm afraid he'll go too hard on him. Cat Tung sighed softly. Disdain. Though everyone was worried, Tae Hao remained very confident. His eyes showed no fear against such a strong opponent. Cat Tung was worried too, but he couldn't show it. He just stood there, waiting for the result. Let's see how it goes. Chan Hao's eyes were firm clearly, with no intention of holding back for Tae Hao. After all, it was he who started this. Nam, standing with Jap, looked at them with a million questions. What on earth? Why is the youngest young master sparring with the two brothers? Has the whole family gone crazy? She suddenly feared for Tae Hao. That guy doesn't get people at all, just acts tough and dangerous. He's probably possessed or something. Cat Tung stood there and ordered the two to start the drums. She stammered nervously, "Yes." His eyes glanced over, emphasizing, "I told you to beat the drum." Nam's face still showed hesitation and worry as she held the drumstick. Right after she boldly struck the drum, "All right, let's go for it." "Go for it, youngest young master over there." Chan Hao held his sword out in front. "Look ahead." He thought to himself, "On Tae Hao, you useless know-it-all." Another hand quickly drew a sword, staring straight at Tae Hao. Chan Hao was still annoyed. Born as the youngest, spoiled to the point of thinking the whole world is at your feet. His eyes widened in stare, and his eyes narrowed with hatred. "Today as your brother." Then his eyes swept quickly. He raised his sword high and charged at him. "I'll show you how big the world is." Flashing back to the past, when Chan Hao was a kid playing, there was laughter. "My Chan Hao, your eyes never leave your little brother, huh? Is that fascinating?" Two small hands reached out to each other. Suddenly, the baby's hand in the crib touched Chan Hao, surprising him. "Oh!" He looked up completely surprised. "Father, this baby is so tiny." Cat Tung stroked Chan Hao's head and gently replied, "That's why you have to take good care of him from now on." That baby in the crib was Tae Hao. As your brother father, the fathers across from Tae Hao also raised their swords. Chan Hao thought reluctantly, "Why should I do that?" He angrily charged, "You always expect me and my older brother to fulfill our roles as brothers. But why turn a blind eye when he doesn't fulfill his role as a son?" His eyes flashed with sharp light. "I just can't do that." He calmly held his sword in front. His eyes narrowed, but he thought calmly, "I really don't know how much to hold back." He thrust his sword straight at him, but he swiftly dodged, spinning in all directions and lunging forward, with the immense power of the 12 sword stances. Footwork. Tae Hao stood behind Chan Hao, leaving him stunned. "Huh?" Chin Ho stood there, eyes wide open. "Wait. What's happening?" "Over there." Nam and Jap still held the sticks, but their faces were full of surprise. On that side, he was stumbling and tripped. Right after he fell flat on the ground, ouch! Tae Hao lay there exhausted, but tried to get up laughing. Since it was his first time using the footwork, his steps got all mixed up. Self-taught martial arts from books. His body had just improved a bit, and this was his first real attempt. Luckily, he dodged the attack, but tripped anyway. That was also his best effort at pretending he couldn't pull off the martial arts. Chan Hao turned around, frustrated, self-taught, and luckily dodged. "Are you kidding me, you jerk?" Then he charged again, slashing his sword past him, but he dodged effortlessly. His hand thrust the sword out at lightning speed. Immediately, Chan Hao's sword strike sent Tae Hao flying back. Over there, Chin Ho's eyes bulged. Next to him, Cat Tung couldn't figure out how Tae Hao could do that. Recalling earlier when he passed by, he had reminded, don't underestimate Tai Hao's words. That kid wouldn't suggest a fight without any preparation. Looking at his bright face, he thought, Tai Hao is the most outstanding talent in the history of the Manhwa trading group. Even in a simple spar, plus Chan Hao not using full force. The two over there were still fiercely fighting. Yet Tai Hao, who could barely stand not long ago, was now holding his own against a first-class expert like Chan Hao. Cat Tung stood with his hands behind his back, hidden in the trees. If guided by a true master who knows how far he could grow. His face frowned, panting. Why can't I measure up? Watching Tai Hao easily block each weapon. Chan Hao couldn't accept it. As the top talent in the trading group's history, now you want to take the title of top martial talent from me too. He recalled his childhood when Chan Hao was peeking through the door. Then he turned back and called to Tai Hao, who was slumped on the ground. Tai Hao! The adults left, and he slumped down with tears streaming his hand, catching the blood from his mouth as he cried out. He saw that and panicked. Cat Tung looked down. From today on, the head manager will teach you martial arts in my place. His face still worried, holding the staff. Yes, but I still want you, father, to teach me personally. He immediately refused. Chan Hao, your brother Tai Hao, has a weak body and is often sick. Let me use that time to care for him more. His hand held the weapon, his eyes looking down in confusion. But I'm your brother now. Chan Hao sat back, retreating with a fearful face, and there were loud voices around. First stop the reverse blood flow. What's the cause? His face trembled, tears streaming as he shakily said, yes, it's... His hand shook, opening something along with the doctor's words. It seems the two young masters mistakenly used a yang attribute elixir. Chan Hao kept shaking, panicking, and crying, Father, I just wanted Tai Hao to get better quickly. I just wanted Tai Hao to get better quickly. Cat Tung stepped over and pushed him aside. Chan Hao sat on the ground, crying desperately, but father didn't pay him any attention and stood by Tai Hao's sickbed. How is Tai Hao's condition? The doctor replied seriously. Even if he recovers, the internal injuries won't be minor. Back to reality, Chan Hao was still attacking Tai Hao relentlessly, forcing him to defend. Originally, his face wrinkled in endurance. Isn't it all because you were born weak? The two swords clashed, forming a cross and clanging loudly. But why me? Tai Hao looked at him indifferently. Bro family is such an unpredictable thing. He over there gritted his teeth against the sword's force, saying nonsense. And Tai Hao's face showed no emotion at all. Exactly. Because they're the closest people. Even though they carry the deepest emotional voids more than anyone, they still have to live side by side for an entire lifetime. Isn't that right? He was sweating and saying those bitter words. He threw a powerful swing at Tai Hao, still trying to speak up. That's what someone once said to you? He quickly swung his staff away and shouted, I'm not interested. Chin-ho glanced at Nyam, who was holding the hourglass, and frowned. How much time is left? She looked just as annoyed, about 1:10 left. At that moment, Chan Hao was slowly drawing his sword that held the red power. He swung the sword back, building momentum with blazing red energy, and muttered, proves you've still got some fight in you. But from here on, that won't be the case anymore. Cat Tung on the other side quickly shouted, Chan Hao, what on earth are you doing? Show some mercy right now. Chan Hao bent down at a 90-degree angle like a bull and charged straight at him with a yell. Around Chan Hao, Tai Hao stood there looking stunned and sighed. Nonsense. Chan Hao, you're the one who doesn't know a thing. Remember back when the house burned down, family is really hard to talk about, Tai Hao. There, Chan Hao was slumped down with arrows piercing his body. Precisely because they're the closest kin they have to live together for a lifetime, even while holding on to those deep emotions no one knows about. He used blood from his fingertip to carve words. on the stone tablet. When you live with that in your heart forever, even the reason for the grudge becomes vague. The grudge I held against you was just like that. He recalled the moment he saw Tai Hao bleeding and his trembling hands offering something while his father pushed his hand away. The helplessness of not being able to do anything. The guilt toward you and the isolation from a family that always prioritized you. All of that somehow turned into resentment toward you. Chan Hao sits on the floor with blood dripping from his mouth. Brother, my only brother, that wasn't your fault. His face is full of agony with arrows stuck in his back as he's reading a piece of paper. Because my heart holds so many unresolved issues that caused you to suffer. I'm sorry for delaying again and again, only now finally able to say these words. Chan Hao's hand releases an animal, which is a pigeon, flying up into the sky. And a lot of soldiers are rushing into the burning house. Inside, someone was holding a sword high above his head, ready to stab him. Don't forgive me right away. His swing decapitated him, and the arrows along with him returned to the present. Chan Hao held his sword high above his head and charged forward like lightning, and Tai Hao thought to himself, "You can't do that, brother." At that moment, a spark flashed past him, but he calmly dodged. How could it be your fault alone? He vanished like a shadow technique when his swing came, making Chan Hao stumble and fall. We're all just young and inexperienced, that's all. Yam Ching Ho and Kat Tung were all shocked, their faces showing it. Chan Hao looked down, his brows furrowed in hatred, thinking, "Did you drop the sword?" Tai Hao appeared full of joy and lay down in front of him. Suddenly a smile crept onto his face. Tai Hao appeared full of joy, lying down in front of him. You just gathered sword energy around your body, but that move is still the same as before, so easy to predict. He opened his fist. I wouldn't say I've completely forgiven you. That fist was Tai Hao's gently punching Chan Hao without any harm. Let's call it even from here on. He looked at the fist, feeling a twinge of guilt. This action left the three onlookers speechless, with their mouths open. At the same time, Nam looked at the hourglass, time's up, and grew even more panicked. She stood there watching the two still on the fighting floor and said, since it didn't end in a clear win even at the very end. Tai Hao pulled his hand back as she spoke. So the victory goes to the third young master at Tai Kin Kak. A voice rang out, so Tuak turned to Sung Yi and asked, did the third young master really win? He bowed his head and replied, externally we have to keep this absolutely secret. Of course. He looked at the report in his hand and smiled. What a well-organized file, looks like a real talent. Suddenly his face turned a sneaky purple. I have to recommend him as my assistant and work him to the bone for 12 hours a day. At that moment, Chan Hao was practicing swordplay alone in the courtyard. Each of his sword strokes was strong and decisive. Chan Hao's eyes were ice cold as he thought about what happened when they were kids. Tai Hao coughing up blood repeatedly and trembling on the bed. He was terrified by the sight back then. As a child, Chan Hao couldn't forget the scene of everyone crowding around him and ignoring him. The image of Tai Hao came back to his mind. Brother family is such an unpredictable thing. Chan Hao sighed deeply. He tossed the sword in his hand aside. Chan Hao wiped the sweat from his face, his mood full of irritation. This is so frustrating. He lowered his head, thinking, even though I'm annoyed, I feel a bit relieved somewhere, thinking that makes me even madder. Then he suddenly turned to the servant. What is the young master doing right now? The girl suddenly called was flustered. The youngest master, sir, he's been taken away by the head steward. Hearing that Chan Hao went to deal with the head steward. Inside the room, Tai Hao was backed into a corner, suspicious. Why? Tuak on the other side smirked slyly. Young master, you can handle all the work now, right? Tai Hao quietly sweated. Yeah, that's true, but what's going on? He didn't answer, just waved and led him away immediately. A woman stepped forward and hoisted Tai Hao over her shoulder. He struggled as hard as he could, but it was no use. Tuak turned back with a disdainful look at Tai Hao. Starting today, you'll be my assistant. The Merchant Guild leader has approved this, so don't bother resisting in vain. He looked at him fearfully. Dutoak, the head steward of Anha Merchant Guild. The cause of his death in the previous life was overwork. While Tai Hao was lost in thought, he started assigning tasks. I'll give you a quick overview of the work. He looked at Toak in horror. He died from exhaustion. He swept a sharp gaze over Tai Hao. Prepare financial operations schedules, inventory supplies, or handle matters related to offices and taxes. Reconcile income and expenses and reconstruct weekly, monthly, and yearly records. Estimate and execute internal expenses like ceremonies, banquets, and all other emerging costs in the guild. Isn't that simple? His face darkened with fear. The woman following Tuak flipped her hair back. She's Dutoak's deputy, Ta Lin Lin. She politely looked at Tai Hao. Don't worry too much, young master. She politely looks at Tai Hao. Don't worry too much, sir. Lin Lin shyly covers her face. Just like me, sir, you'll feel better soon enough. But you're not gonna let that happen. Tai Hao turns and catches Lin Lin as she faints from being acupressure pointed, looking apologetically at Toak. I beg your pardon, but that's probably not gonna happen. He glares at you darkly. Why's that? You struggle to say, darn it, I can't just say it's because of the fire at Tai Kin's store. To stop the fire, he had to be on night duty the night it happened. Then he quietly calculated, but if I get pulled into being that maniac's assistant, forget night duty, I might not leave the head steward for 12 hours a day. In my past life, I witnessed his assistant screaming from night work and running out. Who knows if that won't be me in this life? Thinking about it, Tae-hao broke out in a cold sweat. He bit his lip. No way! Tae-hao quietly raised his hand to address the steward. He calmly crossed his arms and nodded, yes, go ahead. I think the purpose of the training I'm receiving isn't to actually do the work, but to understand the overall operations. Moreover, I've only learned for 2 days. With more talented candidates waiting, I can't take that position. I don't want special treatment, I just want to learn the job like a regular employee. On the other side, Nam was pulling Lin up. Hey, sleeping here will mess up your face. On the other side, Ham was pulling Lin up. Hey, sleeping here will mess up your face. She woke up startled and confused. Additionally, I heard that the steward's assistants aren't assigned to night shifts. Night shifts are the heart of office work where all the sweat and tears of real employees are poured out. Isn't that right? Tuak stroked his chin. After thinking it over, he finally spoke. I understand your point. He was excited. Thank you so then. But before he finished, he continued. So do the regular employee work and night shifts too. Plus verifying files, planning monthly and yearly finances, managing the guild's cash flow, issuing tax books, checking inventory, and handling costs for various items. Work related to tax offices, reconcile income and expenses, summarize weekly, monthly, and yearly finances, reconstruct content items, estimate and execute costs for internal ceremonies and banquets and all other emerging expenses. You'll handle all of that, right? Tae-hao froze as he heard the long list of tasks added. He immediately turned and bolted out of the room with a bunch of guards chasing after him. The young master is escaping, catch him! With the large force from the Anha Merchant Guild's security unit, the Anfong team, whose main job is to escort and protect the guild, they chased the fleeing employee. Tae-hao hadn't even left the house before he was caught. 3 days later, the night shift list for today officers Du Sung-yi, officers Un Tae-hao. He stared at the schedule. Today is the day the fire at Taikinkak happens. On the other side, Jung-yi was bent over squinting at the books. Tae-hao glanced secretly at him. Du Sung-yi was the one on night duty when the fire started. Luckily, I still remember. He looked up, frozen in place. But the problem is I'm so sleepy I could go crazy. Tae-hao was extremely exhausted, feeling like every day he's pushing his limits. This is the first time I've realized humans can work this hard. Next to him was Onluk Duanjuquan, keeping awake the pride of Unha Merchant Guild. His face grew paler as he thought about Toak. Thanks to the inner energy from the snow plum blossom, every time he circulates his chi, he almost fully recovers. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but it feels like I'm getting more work. Once this is over, I have to get out of here no matter what, before I lose my mind like that. Tae-hao looked in horror at Lin, who was happily saying, Chief Steward, please give me more work. He hesitated as he looked at the person on duty with Du Sung-yi. He didn't turn his head. Yes, young master. Tae-hao directed his droopy eyes towards Sung-yi. Today, please help me with the night shift. Of course. He frowned. Wait, I mean. He fell silent, but first we have to get through tonight safely. While Tae-hao continued writing in the ledger, suddenly there was a noise. Tae-hao Sung-yi quietly placed the teapot on the table. Drink some tea before you start. He picked up the cup and asked, Aren't you having any... He sat down. I'll pass. The room fell silent again. Tae-hao broke the silence first. Officer Du. He didn't look up. Go ahead. He considered his words. Do you have anything to say to me? Sung-yi finally looked at Tae-hao but quickly lowered his eyes. Sung-yi was even calmer. What is there to say? He smiled. Is that so? He said firmly. Yes, but Jung-yi has some doubts inside. He wasn't focused. Finally, Jung-yi stood up. I'll go on a round. Tae-hao was curious. Alone. He frowned. I think it'll be more comfortable that way. He watched his back fade away and clicked his tongue. Tae-hao softly called out, Nyam, are you asleep again? She sat perched on the beam with a nonchalant look. I've been here the whole time. He grumbled, why do you always hang out in places like that? Nyam said casually, probably habit. I feel more comfortable here. Tae-hao smiled and lifted the teapot. Come down for a cup of tea. She teased, oh, that's odd, I'm coming down right now. Oh, that's odd, I'm coming down right now. Tae-hao watched Nyam down a cup. What do you think? She commented, compared to what I like, it's a bit bitter. Damn, I told you not to brew it too long. But as soon as she finished, Nam collapsed. Tae-hao just calmly looked at her, so there was sleeping powder in it. He turned and stretched. I want to lie down and sleep too. Anyway. Tae-hao smirked mischievously, cracking his knuckles confidently. Now it's time for me to go on a patrol. Tae-hao grabbed a bucket of water and took it with him. He put on a black cloak to cover his head, and Tae-hao stepped out alone into the night to catch the arsonist. There was a man in black sneaking around in the library. After pouring oil all over the room, he threw the empty bucket hard on the ground. A thing pulled out an oil fuse, and as soon as it hit the air, it burst into flames. He laughed wickedly. Suddenly, someone appeared behind him, making him jump. You seem really excited about this. He's laughing in a really sneaky way. Suddenly, someone appears behind him out of nowhere, making him jump, looking way too excited, huh? A thing quickly turns his head on full alert. Tae-hao zips past him and snatches the flame from his hand in a flash. A thing stares at the flame burning in your hand, saying it with a hidden meaning. You're pretty good at lighting things up, huh, with that oily rag. Tae-hao playfully tosses the oily rag, mocking him. You've got everything all planned out, don't you? Mocking him for being so well prepared. Right after that, he boldly exposes his identity. A thing the officials made a mistake, seeing the face of the person in front of him. A thing grits his teeth in anger. Young Master Oot, how did you figure it out? He teases him jokingly. If I said I came from the future, would you believe it? A thing is immune to Tae-hao's joke. So you're not going to tell the truth, huh? Meanwhile, he doesn't care. Does that even matter now? Tae-hao stares directly at a thing with mockery. The real issue is you planning to set this place on fire and getting caught by me. Hearing that, a thing can't help but burst out laughing. Then he laughs loudly, mocking him. Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. A thing stops hiding and takes off his hood. The rumors say you're a genius, and it seems they're not wrong. He pulls out a short dagger with a vicious smile. But you're all alone, aren't you? Tae-hao stares at the dagger without saying a word. He sighs, beckoning challengingly. Well, I haven't formed my 7 yet either. A thing glares in fury, gripping his knife and charging at Tae-hao, intending to finish him off quickly. He jokes, fighting you might kill me. Seung-yi holds a lantern and walks through the long hallway of the room. He sighs, thinking back on the recent meeting, Seung-yi's eyes full of worry. Young Master Oot Tae-hao. Resting his chin on his hands, he says, First, don't you have anything to say to me? Seung-yi calmly continues practicing calligraphy. What do I have to say? He still presses, is that so? He affirms yes. Being stared at, he starts to feel uncomfortable. Suddenly, he brings it up. How did you know? Tae-hao is puzzled. Huh? Seung-yi voices his long-standing doubt. You submitted the documents to the head manager and got approved on the first try. It's only your second day on the job while I've been working at Taikin Pavilion for over 3 years and never got that. Seeing Tae-hao silent, he gets even more upset. What tricks did you use? Tae-hao exposes his attitude. So that's why you've had that cold face for days. Seung-yi, embarrassed and angry, snaps. I haven't had a cold face. He teases, oh, come on, you clearly have. After teasing enough, Tae-hao gets serious. I don't think I have anything special. His words sound surprisingly mature. I don't think I have anything special. I don't just do the assigned work. I try to read the hidden intentions behind the head manager's tasks. If you just bury yourself in the work, it's just working for work's sake. Tae-hao's words shock Seung-yi. After thinking for a while, he realizes, I've been acting like an old man again. Tae-hao quickly covers it up. That's just what I learned from my father, but I'm just pretending. Seung-yi presses his lips together, sighing. Though I shouldn't say this, my pride is hurt. Tae-hao comforts Seung-yi. Well, that's a good thing. Feelings like that are often the motivation to improve, and that's something I learned from my father. Hearing that Seung-yi is confused but smiles awkwardly, he quickly avoids it. I'll go on patrol. He asks curiously, alone, Seung-yi politely replies. It'll be more comfortable that way. After leaving, he falls into deep thought. Though he's from the Merchant Guild's bloodline, it's surprising that a newcomer like you hit my weak spot. Maybe the future of the Merchant Guild lies on the shoulders of this young master. His eyes darken, even though he sometimes annoys people way too much. Is the training for the O2 dance going well? He walks until he enters the tea room. Seung-yi rummages through the tea jars, feeling troubled. A hot cup of tea is the best. I should have had some with him earlier. Suddenly getting prideful. Suddenly he notices something. Seung-yi examines the jar in his hand suspiciously. What's this? I didn't see it earlier. Is that oil? Back to the fight, a thang spins the dagger in his hand. He stabs repeatedly at different points, but Tai Hao dodges nimbly. He pulls back his fist for momentum. After facing Brother Tran Hao and now your 12-style sword technique. Tai Hao punches a Thang, sending him flying with the bamboo-style punch, tracing a path as beautiful as bamboo flowers. It feels so refreshing to beat guys like that. A Thang is punched and doesn't even know why. What the heck, young Master Oot, you're supposed to be sick and could die any day. After Tai Hao jumps like a kangaroo, he lands a series of punches on a Thang. He's still trying to process it. What is this? Is it a dream? This can't be real. A Thang recalls his trembling hands on the gambling piece's slippery wages a mediocre life. With that thought, he glares at the piece in his hand full of resentment. His eyes quiver. Better to be born into a boring life and just scrape by. Putting your whole life on a 1-inch gambling piece. He throws the piece and slips yelling, "This is rigged, you bastards. How come you haven't drawn a single card all night?" A Thang grabs the collar of a guy twice his size like a mosquito biting steel. "You scum, you messed with the cards, didn't you? You scum. Do you know how much money that is, you jerk?" Before he can finish, he's kicked out the door. "Come back next time, buddy." Lying on the ground, tears stream down his face. Since when has my life been worth just a 1-inch gambling piece? How fleeting it is, so fleeting. Someone mocks him, "You look pathetic, hero." A Thang clings to his leg. "Boss Lou, you saw it." Hero a Thang clings to Lou's leg. "At first I tripled my capital, you saw it too. I'm from the Unha Merchant Guild, I'll pay it back. It's just business, please." The man throws him a lifeline. "I know, hero. We're one of the most talented in Tai Kin Pavilion of the Unha Merchant Guild." Pausing, he bows and suggests, "So how about joining me on a job?" A Thang thinks it's fleeting. He closes his eyes in resignation. So fleeting. A voice snaps him back, planning to pass out. A slap wakes him up completely. He threatens fiercely, "From now on, you're not human anymore." A Thang is beaten severely by him, coughing up blood repeatedly. Tai Hao's eyes are full of killing intent. "You'll be my truth bell now. Every hit makes you spill the truth, got it?" A Thang dazed just listens as he questions, "Answer me." Late in the hour of the rat, the moonlight faintly shines over the Unha Merchant Guild. Tai Hao stands seriously in front of the other brothel owners, speaking carefully. "I apologize for the early disturbance, but due to the seriousness of the matter, I hope you understand." His face shows authority, as you've probably heard from the officials. He calmly points to direct their attention to the branch with a person hanging. The one who tried to set Tai Kin Pavilion on fire has been caught red-handed, and the mastermind behind it is Hua Lian House. Then he leads them to the water wheel, where another person is tied up for interrogation. In the interrogation, the Thishan device created by the Fong Pavilion Masters played a big role. A Thang screams in agony, "I'll confess everything." His face is all bruised, his body shaking, and he keeps mumbling, "Please just kill me." After a short while, Kat Tung speaks up to confirm, "What do you mean by Hua Lian House?" His expression now shows clear annoyance. What he said can't be wrong, and that's easy for him to notice. Father must be furious. The beautiful, talented courtesans dancing attractively. Hua Lian House is one of the 5 great brothels in Hubei and a longtime partner of our Anh Merchant Guild. Hearing that Dick Bin Cheat, the master of the Fong Pavilion with a pipe in hand, joins the conversation. "I heard Hua Lian House still owes a large advance payment. Maybe they're plotting to burn the transaction records to avoid paying it back." The master of Thung Du Pavilion, Din Da Mi, also chimes in. "If the plot succeeds, it would be hard to trace the mastermind, since not just one place owes us money." Finally, the outer manager and captain of the An Fong team, Cao Nyat Bin, feels a bit relieved from his worries. Anyway, it's really lucky. All of them now focus on Tai Hao's elegant and calm demeanor under the moonlight. Tai Kin Pavilion might have turned to dust. If not for the young master, Tai Kin Pavilion might have turned to dust without anyone knowing. His eyes don't flinch as if he knew it all along. Of course it's bound to happen. Events like that and the haunting scene of the fire must have been swallowed in agony by the flames. If not for me, he would have drunk the drugged tea by now. He then softly refocuses them, save the praise for later. Now the important thing is to discuss our strategy. Nyat Bin agrees, exactly. Then he thinks to himself, so young and not bragging about his merits. Not only that, Bin Triad also notices those qualities in him. Without any hesitation, he immediately directs the next steps. Theo Dami also silently admires, even after such a big incident, he stays so composed, truly experienced. They stare at Tai Hao's smiling face. That boldness and courage are truly rare talents. Suddenly, a hand raises. Act carefully, calmly, and politely suggests, "First, could we get that person down from the tree? After all, he's human. Leaving him like that troubles me." His words make him feel a bit strange, but he agrees. Is the inner manager saying something like that? Yes, I understand. Act calmly squats in front of a Thang, softly asking, "A Thang, are you sober now?" He hurriedly replies with a tremble, "Yes, sir, I'm sober, thank you, manager." But the next second, he gets a hard beating from him and is scolded, "Sober, then take the beating, you scum." Just like that, he vents his frustration on him. "Me, I was up working all night today, and because of you, I had to get up for this, you idiot." Seeing the violence, he awkwardly ushers the others inside. "All right, everyone, go inside. Pretend you didn't see that." In the archive, Tae-hao casually reenacts it perfectly without warning. "Next time, I'll really burn this place down." The other five watch and fall silent. A few seconds later, Act starts grinding his teeth in anger, glaring, "You little brat! What were you planning in someone's business?" Seeing that Kat Tung speaks up to stop him, "Calm down, let him explain. Besides, this is my business, manager." Then Dami's voice rings out in praise. The young master has come up with a brilliant plan. She quickly realizes and understands his plan. This is the strategy of using the fake to confuse the real right. He just smiles slightly at the corner of his mouth, using the fake to confuse the real. A few seconds later, Tae-hao explains to the masters. "Yes, just for the masters, because we need to use the fake to hide the truth. The black snake's scales are slick like the real one. We have to make Hua Lianhouse believe their plan succeeded. As soon as he finishes, his aura is like a dangerous black snake. Only then will they show their tail." They start voting with solid reasoning. "I agree." Kat Tung agrees too, then asks Act, "I support it, what about you, manager?" But he strongly objects. "I can't believe this, burning down a whole building like that. Do you think the construction costs grow from the ground? However, that doesn't change the outcome. The fire must engulf the archive. So by majority vote, the destruction of Taikin Pavilion begins. Seeing the blazing flames, Act cries out in pain, "No!" But no documents are lost. 2 people are covered with blankets over the documents. Ahem, the documents and blankets are stored safely. His eyes wander, recalling the horrific scene. Only he knows it burned well, just like in the previous life. The flames still burn fiercely, but now it's different. Those flames are the starting point for the revival of the Manhwa Merchant Guild. Then he notices Act's suffering figure. Even though burning the Tai Kin Pavilion archive makes the inner manager a bit tired, he holds his head in agony, kneeling on the ground. That precious library full of late-night work memories, where will the budget come from to rebuild it? Where was I yesterday? He immediately lies to himself. This is a good chance for the manager to rest a bit. You're sick and it won't wait. He turns to ask the officials, when is the deadline for Hualien House's debt payment? He holds the ledger reading as he reports, checking it, it's the 8th of next month. Hearing that, he smiles lightly, then leave it be, let it stew a bit. We can cover that amount from elsewhere. And so everything passes. At the brothel street a month later, one of the 5 great brothels in Hubei Hualien House, whispers start buzzing early in the morning. Do you remember the big fire at the Manhwa Merchant Guild recently? As they go, the whispers grow. Why bring that up out of the blue? Of course, I remember it was buzzing for so many days back then. Standing in front of Hualien Pavilion, the whispers grew even louder. The archive was burned down somewhere, and all the contracts and transaction records were destroyed too. Even our Hualien Pavilion's documents were stored there and burned up with everything else. Haven't we been owing a pretty big amount to the Manhwa Trading Group all along? That's right, so that's why it hit like a bolt from the blue. They heard the boss has no intention of paying it back. The manager of Hualien Pavilion Tutung turned pale with worry and started rambling. Just because a few papers are lost, they won't pay what they owe. That doesn't make any sense. Business is all about trust. If the boss is that short-sighted, then he tried to act calm and headed into the private room. I have to stop this at all costs. I need to see the boss. As soon as he stepped in, he accidentally kicked the foot of a girl lying on the floor. Seeing the courtesans sprawled all over the floor shocked him. What the heck is this? A man grabbed a bottle of wine and chugged it down in one go. Right after he smashed the bottle hard on the floor. Why so surprised, manager? Is this your first time seeing women? Tutung snapped back irritably. Is the boss messing with the courtesans again? The previous boss strictly forbade that sort of thing. But he didn't care at all and just waved him off. Stop nagging, get to the point. The boss of Hualien Pavilion Bok Fook was reeking of alcohol with his clothes all disheveled and messy. "I'm itching to chop someone's head off." Then he just stayed silent, but inwardly he cursed, "This crazy jerk, I need to find another job fast." Tuthung carefully changed his tone to report, "Well, sir, I heard you're not planning to pay back the debt to the Unha Trading Group." They said all the contract records were burned, but halfway through his face grew even more annoyed. Just for short-term gain, destroying the trust built with an important partner from the previous boss's time. I'm truly worried about it. But Bok Fook just waved him off dismissively and said casually, "Enough, the payment deadline was way back." If anything was going to happen, it would have already get out. He still wanted to add, but he cut him off. But what? The Unha Trading Group hasn't said a word right. I said, get out! Finally. Tuthung grumbled loudly. The previous boss would never do something like this. Bok Fook's face turned even more sour and gloomy. Fine. He tried to stay calm and waved him over. "All right then, manager, come here for a second." Even though he was a bit worried, Tuthung still stepped closer. "Yes, boss." Then he reached behind his chair and fumbled around. "Let me see, it should be here." He looked on curiously and blankly. "Yes." As soon as he found it, he smashed an empty wine bottle hard on Tuthung's head. "You damn drunkard." The hard hit made him tremble, clutching his bleeding head in pain. "Hey, manager, who's the boss around here?" No mercy at all, he kept beating and kicking him. "Is it me or your old boss?" Until he passed out, then he went back to his chair. "All they do is get in my way, you jerks." Bok Fook plopped down on the chair with a dazed look. "Lie there and listen, manager. Oh, wait, can you even hear? Once this is over, the Dalvun Trading Group will reopen trade with us." With that crazy smile, he turned toward the trembling courtesan nearby. "Sure, they sometimes demand a few annoying things, but you know, manager, the Dalvun Trading Group," he asks scornfully, even without a response. "Isn't that a branch of the Bok Thean Merchant Group, one of the 8 major merchant groups, and also part of the Martial Arts Alliance?" Bok Fook smirks dismissively. "Once I handle this, all those folks comparing me to my father and putting me down will finally shut up. And I won't have to sit at the same table with those Unha Merchant Group people anymore." He grins excitedly, looking down at the courtesan, making her even more terrified. "Maybe I can even make them disappear for good." Suddenly, a servant bursts in urgently, calling out, "Master!" Seeing this, Bok Fook angrily snaps, "Barging in like that, are you asking for trouble?" The servant cowers, bowing in fear. "I apologize, sir, but it's an emergency," he stammers, trying to get the words out. "I'm here to report that the Anh-Ha Merchant Group has arrived with their warrior guards." Hearing that, his face goes blank. "What?" Bok Fook is stunned that Taehao's group has already reached the gate. Bok Fook was stunned because Taehao's group had already reached the gate. Cat Tung calmly remarked, "They showed up out of nowhere without anyone stopping them, huh?" He added, "Well, after dodging payments for a whole year, how could they afford to pay the guards?" Then he said while pushing open the brothel's management door, "It's rare to see them this bold. Anyway, they don't seem ready to welcome guests at all." A mocking smile crossed Taehao's face as he pushed the door open. "So let's just walk right in, shall we?" And just like that, his group marched in with full authority. Taehao shouted, "I'm here to collect the debt you've been dodging." Taehao kept spinning his staff in his hand. He smiled lightly, watching Yum standing behind him. Seeing her like that, Taehao couldn't help but think, why does he look so happy? As they approached the door, Taehao kicked it open dramatically. He yelled, "Hey, pay up now!" Though he was cheerful, everyone else had a blank expression. "Is it about money?" "My money." Bok Fook frowned at the sight and looked up at Taehao. "Who are you?" As soon as he finished, he sensed something was off. A slender girl was lying on the floor. He turned serious and ordered Yum. Seeming to understand Taehao's intent, she and another subordinate quickly helped the girls out of there. He walked straight toward Bok Fook with his staff. Taehao chuckled and mocked, "What a hopeless thug." His voice echoed, "If the late boss saw this, he'd be thrilled." Bok Fook stayed seated, but his expression changed. He grew angrier by the second and finally drew his sword. Bok Fook rushed toward Taehao. He swung his sword straight at his neck, his face full of hate and contempt. Nyutbin's patience had probably reached its limit. He shouted and decided to charge in to protect Taehao, but Cat Tung held him back. For some reason, Bok Fook hesitated at the last second. Seeing that, he taunted, "If you're gonna draw your sword, make your move already, or do you want to chat first?" Taehao grinned foolishly and kept waving to provoke him. He got bolder, or do I have to call you out to fight? Come on, you coward! It seemed to hit Bok Fook's sore spot. He went berserk and swung his sword at him again. This madman didn't hold back. Tae Hao blocked it with his staff right away. The clash echoed through the room. Bok Fook gritted his teeth in fury. Tae Hao had the upper hand. He smiled smugly. The two kept charging at each other, neither backing down. Each blow was packed with massive power. Bok Fook realized the gap in their strength. He frowned, his face darkened, and his movements got clumsier. He was panting heavily, exhausted, and thought, how is every attack getting blocked? Sweat soaked Bok Fook's clothes. A thought flashed. Rumor has it the two young masters of Manhwa Trading Group are top experts, and it's this kid. Tae Hao kept taunting, what's up with him? Can he fight back? If not... Before finishing, he flashed a sly smile and charged at Bok Fook lightning fast, yelling, take this! He quickly raised his sword to defend. This made Bok Fook's eyes unable to keep up. Tae Hao used instant movement, making Bok Fook's eyes unable to keep up. He panicked. Where did he go? Suddenly a chill ran down his spine, and he realized. As soon as Bok Fook turned his head, his voice echoed, brace yourself. Suddenly a devastating blow to his head made saliva and snot fly out. At the same time, Tae Hao grinned triumphantly because the hit was so strong it sent him flying. Then Bok Fook crashed embarrassingly to the floor. Tae Hao stood there, stunned for a moment. He wondered, that sound was gross. Is his head really empty? In his blurry vision, Nam was already sitting nearby, worried. He didn't die, did he? Seeing that, Tae Hao reassured, nah, I held back enough not to kill him. He bent down and slapped his face repeatedly. Wake up! Slowly, Bok Fook's eyes opened wider, his vision clearing. Before he could fully recover, he leaned in close, furrowed his brows, flared his nostrils, and grinned perversely. Awake now! His face scared him half to death, despite the pain all over. Bok Fook sat up abruptly. He frowned angrily. Scared by my face, huh? Wanna die. It hurts me a little and my heart stings like a knife, damn it. Yum, standing nearby, burst out laughing. Bok Fook was a total mess, clothes, disheveled wounds all over his body. Facing him, Tae Hao said sternly, you naughty old man, your face shows pure killing intent. He started summoning his debt-collecting skills. Dodging payments for a whole year trying to drive me crazy. We put up with it out of respect for the late boss. Do we look like easy targets to pluck? Blood slowly dripped from Bok Fook's nose. His voice trembled. Which debt are you talking about? As soon as he finished, a stack of papers was thrown in his face. Those papers all showed important documents with red stamps. Tae Hao explained, these are all the records of goods that Manhwa Trading Group supplied to your Hualien Pavilion. The problem is you haven't paid a dime in a year. He shrugged, proving his guilt. And according to the key terms, that means Hualien Pavilion has to transfer full ownership. Bok Fook quickly picked up the papers and looked getting even madder. He refused point blank, don't be ridiculous. I can tell these fake documents a mile away. Trying to back out. His voice echoed. You think I don't know that in Tai Kin all your papers burned up? No proof, and you still show up demanding payment. Is this how you do business? Tae Hao's face darkened. Grinding his teeth, Bok Nyum nearby grimaced and yelled, disgusting! The one standing next to him felt the same, couldn't take it anymore. Suddenly, Tae Hao threw his staff on the ground and shouted, fake papers! He grabbed one from the pile and shoved it in Bok Fook's face. Go on, open your eyes wide and look this yellowed paper with the worn stamp, only I can see it, right? Tae Hao's sharp argument left Bok Fook speechless. If it's real, what are you gonna do about it? Even involve the authorities. He thought, this is crazy, is it really real? Bok Fook recalled the day Tai King was in flames and doubted, this can't be, I heard all the papers burned up. Did the Dalvun group mess everything up? His hand shook as he held the paper. No, they said it was a success. Why is this happening? Or did they lie to me? Why? Tae Hao, who had been standing quietly, suddenly mumbled, clack, 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 clack. Bok Fook held himself. What is that? He leaned in, pointed at his own head, and laughed. Oh, just the sound of your head spinning. Tae Hao kept mocking him. Hey, if you just ran Hualien Pavilion properly, you'd be living comfortably. Why are you hung up on stuff and causing all this trouble? Tae Hao glared. Now Bok Fook was like a mouse he could crush any time. His voice grew heavier. Probably up to some shady deals behind people's backs, right? Suddenly someone approached, catching both Bok Fook and him off guard. He muttered, I have something to report. Glancing over, he recognized, wait, it's him. He bowed and introduced himself. I'm Tutu, the head manager of Hualien Pavilion. Unlike now, Tutu was remembered as a very powerful figure. He turned a losing brothel into one of the 3 biggest in Hubei with his outstanding management skills. Yet a talent like him has been buried at Hualien Pavilion all this time. Te Hao bowed deeply in respect. Nice to meet you. I'm An Te Hao from Manhwa Trading Group, he said seriously and got straight to business. Please take a look at this. This is Hualien Pavilion's accounting ledger. Please check page 7. There's even a recent expense for building a new small hall. Bok Fook behind him raged, "From the manager, you jerk, say one more word and I'll kill you." As soon as he finished, he felt a terrifying killing intent. Yum glared with sharp eyes at him and silently pressed her sword against Bok Fook's neck. Without saying a word, Tutu bowed his head and politely requested, "Young master, may I have a private word with the boss? Please stop." He looked up with a bewildered face covered in numerous wounds and asked back, "What?" From Tu said seriously, "You've gone too far." He thought to himself, compared to the previous manor lord, the current Bok is just an average guy. From Tu recalled the past days when everyone was cooking, and that Bok guy messed up the orders again. How many times has this happened? One of the guys there didn't hold back and mocked, "He looks like the manor lord on the outside, but inside he's totally different." At the same time, Tutu walks by and hears everything. He's always being compared to his father, and even a small mistake is seen as a stain that's hard to wash away. He didn't go along with them. Instead, he actually felt pity for Bok Fook. The person huddled in the corner of the porch suddenly snapped because of that, looking up with a sinister face and a resentful tone. The person cowering in a corner of the veranda, maybe because of that, suddenly slips up. He looks up, revealing a demonic expression and a tone full of resentment. "You arrogant jerks, always bringing up my father at every turn." Tutung was quite shocked by this side of him. Bok Fook gritted his teeth. "Do you think he'll stay in that position forever?" It was all because of those past mocks that he turned out so twisted, leaving Bok Fook alone. Tutung turned to go, but still reminded him, "Even though I know you're not qualified to handle it, I've wasted so much effort and time out of loyalty to the former manor lord. Now all these sins Bok, the manor lord, has to bear himself." He went berserk and shouted, "You jerk, he's gone to West Howe's side. Please check the records, I mentioned it before." He smiled gently and replied, "Oh, thanks." West Howe understood his situation and there must be some hardship on that side. He took the book and thought to himself, anyway, that's settled now. West Howe opened it and carefully examined the information in the book. He frowned and realized they've really been up to no good behind the scenes. How dare they run illegal money operations? No wonder the pleasure house is in chaos and payments to us keep getting delayed. Kat Tung asked him, "West Howe, did you find anything?" He answered, "Yeah, just as I expected, the funds are being secretly diverted elsewhere." The funds are being secretly diverted elsewhere. But West Howe bowed and thanked everyone. "Thanks so much for trusting me." That action reminded him of when the boy first arrived at the pleasure house. West Howe said with a sense of responsibility, "Since I started this, please let me finish it myself." Then he smiled and returned to the present. "All right, you've worked hard." He continued from earlier, "There's one more suspicious thing. Do you want to see it?" Kat Tung shook his head and refused. "No need, I've heard a bit about it. I mean the sand palace that Bok the manor lord is building." He pondered. "At first I thought it was just idle talk. Now it seems real." Behind all this, there's an image of a strong man with white hair standing facing the palace. Kat Tung revealed it's Duan Van Tung. As soon as he heard that name, West Howe's face darkened. By now the sun had set, and Tu Thung Yum and he were walking through a forest. West Howe stroked his chin constantly, reasoning, "If it's Dao Van Tung Duan I recall, it's a branch under Bok Thien Vung Duan of the Martial Arts Alliance." West Howe looked straight at Tu Thung and thought, what are they plotting this time in the Martial Arts Alliance? Lost in his own thoughts, suddenly a voice interrupted West Howe. "Young master." He turned and replied, "Yeah." Yum frowned a bit annoyed and questioned, "I've been calling you forever, but you've just been zoning out without answering." West Howe realized and apologized, but Yum meant something else, so she continued, "No, what I mean is, why are you so determined to check out that palace? You have to explain it clearly to me. You have to explain it clearly to me. Damn it, do you think I wanted to mess up? That way, if anything goes wrong, I'll know how to handle it." You smile innocently and reply, "Why do I have to spill everything? Maybe I need to see it with my own eyes to know." Hearing that she gets really annoyed, humph, you deserve a punch in the face. Suddenly, Tu Thung points ahead and announces, "That's the pavilion that Bok the estate master is building." Suddenly, Tu Thung pointed ahead and announced, "That's the sand palace that Bok the manor lord is building." An ancient house stood in the middle of the forest. Contrary to expectations, it was just an ordinary building. But for some reason, the atmosphere around it felt eerily cold. West Howe glanced at her and asked, "Do you sense any aura around here?" She crossed her arms and denied it. "No, I don't feel anything." He looked around and ordered, "There's no one around for sure. Let's go in and check it out first." The three of them slowly opened the door and went inside. Tu Thung led the way and revealed, "I heard that by tomorrow no one, not even the workers, is allowed in, so it's probably empty inside." He sat down, glanced at him, and reasoned, "Besides, there are a few suspicious spots I've noticed around this area for a while." It seemed West Howe had spotted something suspicious and exclaimed, "That guy from the management." Yum got into a fighting stance, and he started drawing his sword, advising Tu Thung, "Please stay behind me." With his hand on the sword, West Howe challenged, "Show yourself." The footsteps of a stranger grew clearer. Slowly, a masked figure came into view. West Howe frowned and thought I didn't sense any aura at all. Then he spoke, "Who are you? State your identity now." Despite his question, the guy chose to stay silent. The masked figure started drawing his sword. West Howe wondered, planning to fight. He glanced at her and ordered, "I'll leave the manager to you." She nodded in agreement. As soon as he finished, the masked figure charged like a wild tiger. Luckily, he dodged in time, but had to admit he's fast. The two clashed evenly. His eyes constantly scanned the situation, showing he's very experienced in combat. Neither gave an inch, with powerful strikes flying back and forth. West Howe started feeling the pressure because the masked figure's swordplay was incredibly skilled. The sword moves lightly like the wind, but strike with the force of thunder. Gliding past, looking at the masked figure's eyes, he confirmed, "This guy's a master." The masked figure used some technique that made West Howe freeze. Smelling orchid flowers, a pink smoke slowly rose. Yum shouted, "Young master!" She charged in and swung a devastating sword strike, snapping him out of it. Seizing the opportunity, he bolted toward the door near Tu Thung. The masked figure slammed the floor. He pulled something from his clothes and threw it into the room where the three stood. He swiftly escaped using a rope outside. That thing rolled in and West Howe recognized a bomb. He quickly ordered, "Get down now." Then a boom sent dust flying everywhere. West Howe and Num stood there and he checked on Tu Thung. "From the manager, are you okay?" He crouched down as West Howe said, hugging his head, and shakily replied, "I'm fine." He said angrily, "I thought it was a real bomb, but it's just smoke." West Howe looked around. He guessed, was the goal just to escape from here? He stood tall in front of the door, deep in thought. If the opponent had gone all out, it would have been really dangerous. Suddenly a voice shouted, "This way!" Tu Thung quickly informed, "What I just found isn't clear what Bok the manor lord built it for, but it's a secret tunnel leading straight to the main base of Hua Lian House." "Yeah." He and she went to examine the tunnel as he described. The hidden passage under the ground was truly suspicious. West Howe turned to Yum and asked, "Yum, can you guard the entrance for me?" She obeyed, yes. He crouched down and touched the tunnel floor, thinking, that masked guy must be connected to this door. West Howe began opening the door. His face showed shock. As expected, what my father said was true. A strange pattern was carved on the inside of the door. This is the emblem of Dalvan Tung Duan. At this moment, at the main headquarters of Anha Thung Duan Unwit Hall is a grand, ancient house. Suddenly a voice said, "Is that so?" Cat Tung sat on the chair, seriously discussing. That's where they found the secret tunnel leading to Hua Lian House and the emblem of Duan Van Tung Duan. Tuak glanced at him with dark circles under his eyes and advised, "If you're really bothered, maybe you should sell Hua Lian House." As soon as he finished, West Howe suddenly appeared. He panicked and objected, "That won't work." Cat Tung didn't understand why West Howe reacted so strongly. Tuak asked, "Why not?" He started presenting evidence to convince everyone, clearly Hua Lian House is one of the top 5 famous pleasure houses in Hubei. That's why wealthy merchants and nobles frequently visit those places. West Howe imagined the scene where everyone was happily dancing together. He continued arguing, that means we'll have more chances to connect and build relationships with them. Cat Tung seemed to agree. From then on, gathering information from the elite would become easier. Tuak was also interested in his idea. He said we could even use it to promote our trading group's products. Westhouse smiled gently and replied, yes, and more than that, if it's the manager, long-term management will be stable with steady profits without much worry. It's like money making money on its own. Tuak nodded in agreement with him and turned to discuss with Kat Tung, I agree with that. From the records, this person really has outstanding management skills. Tuak furrowed his brow. He licked his lips and smiled slyly, revealing his true nature. To the point where I want to keep him around right away to handle tasks. As if someone mentioned him, a chill ran through Tu Thung. Why am I suddenly feeling like this? Westhouse saw Tuak's true nature and couldn't help but feel scared. He muttered, that's right, but he thought that face is really dangerous. Kat Tung glanced at him and praised, and now, Westhouse, you've handled this matter perfectly. So take that as my reward for giving you a vacation. He said seriously, the Taikin Hall business has tired you out a lot, too. Take a couple of days to relax. For some reason, as soon as he finished, Tuak froze. He widened his red eyes as if they were about to burst into flames and glared back and forth like sending a signal to Westhouse. He broke out in a cold sweat, confused. Tuak used every sense in his body to urge 2 words, refuse, to Westhouse. Kat Tung saw that and just shook his head in resignation, ordering him, do the manager, I'll handle it. You can go rest. Westhouse forced a smile and replied, yes. The further he went, the more he heard Tuak's desperate screams, where are you going, where? Even though he was being beaten by Kat Tung until his head swelled. As soon as he left the room, Westhouse hugged himself, shivering and complaining, that gave me chills down my spine. Like the ghost of someone who overworked to death in a past life. Nyum stood beside him with wide eyes, wondering what that was about. Westhouse smiled and denied, no. Let's go. She followed Westhouse, still confused, wondering what ghost story this was. Now he was lost in his own thoughts again. When he discovered the emblem of Duan Ventung, the prominent families in Hubei from his past life were friendly with the Martial Arts Alliance and Bak Tien Tung Duan. They must have been won over secretly there. Now that place belongs to me, or rather to our trading group. As he thought, he chuckled. Westhouse's face grew more cunning. He said to himself, so this time the Martial Arts Alliance really got a bitter pill from me. Serves them right. Nyum glanced at him from behind, wondering if seeing ghosts had made him delusional. He suddenly remembered the masked figure from before, and regretted it. If only I'd caught that masked guy, I could have gotten more clues. He shook off those thoughts and ordered her, Nyum, for now don't report what happened at the Sand Palace to my father. Don't make him worry. She stayed silent and followed him. After saying that, he became serious, admitting that the masked figure was an absolute master. Can't even compare to Bak the Manor Lord. In the future, facing the Martial Arts Alliance, there might be even more terrifying experts on their side. Westhouse's face darkened, deciding he should visit his past life's master right away. Nyum still didn't understand what was going on. Suddenly, his master's words echoed in his mind. If only that day I had urged the horse a little faster, my child wouldn't have died. Westhouse felt a chill, his eyes widened. He turned and asked in a panic, Nyum, what day is it today? She stammered, Westhouse freaked out and shouted, oh no, it's today! Westhouse rushed into the forest with Nyum and the doctor. Taehao looks down at her and orders, Nyum, I'll go ahead, so please get the doctor to safety. The tragedy happened when the adults were all out working. She glances at the doctor, who's rushing to catch up behind, and replies, yes. Taehao speeds up, leaving them behind. No one could have imagined that the eldest son would trip and get impaled by bamboo shoots while playing with his brother in the bamboo grove, leading to his death. Who could have seen that coming? Suddenly a weak voice echoes, brother? He turned his head toward the voice, feeling uneasy. Taehao stopped immediately, taking a defensive stance. The voice kept echoing through the forest, brother. It turned out to be from a young boy crying for his older brother, who was lying there barely alive from a severe abdominal wound. What can we do, brother? The boy cried nonstop, tears streaming down, begging for help. Please. Then the boy shouted loudly, please, someone! Damn it, you think I wanted to mess up? That voice reaches Taehao's ears, begging him to save his brother. He furrows his brow, searching for where the voice is coming from. If only I hadn't dragged you out to play in the woods. Suddenly, a gentle hand rests on the boy's head to comfort him. It's not your fault at all. Taehao smiled and said, thanks to your call, I made it here in time. The boy burst into sobs. He encouraged him, you did great, kid. Like a gust of wind, Nam arrived, carrying the doctor to where the 2 boys were. Taehao hugged the boy and soothed him. Meanwhile, the doctor examined the older brother, who was barely hanging on. The boy clung to him, crying without stopping. Tae-hao gently patted the boy's shoulder to comfort him. There, it's okay, everything's fine. He thought to himself, how lucky. At the Anha Trading Group, it's a good omen. The older brother was pierced by bamboo shoots. If we'd been any later, it would have been disastrous. The boy sat by the bed, worried sick. Who knows, in this life I might get to see my master smile a few more times, and he couldn't help but chuckle. Tae-hao looked up at the sky, deep in thought, burying the pain deep in his heart. He truly didn't dare imagine the scene with these two boys. Tae-hao became even more determined. That's why I want to gradually change everything. One thing at a time. He glanced at the door, realizing it was probably time for the person to arrive. Right then, someone suddenly burst in. The man called out the boy's name loudly, Brother Tran. He guessed he must have just returned from his travels. Tae-hao greeted him, Hello, Lord Min-hien. He introduced himself, I'm An Tai-hao from the Anha Trading Group. While strolling through the bamboo forests, I was lucky enough to spot the boy and bring him back in time. The man bowed deeply in gratitude. I owe you a great debt. I sincerely thank you for your kindness, young master. If not for you, the consequences would have been unimaginable. He humbly looked at the two children. Don't mention it. I was just someone who happened to be in the right place at the right time. Tae-hao praised the boy. He stayed by his brother's side, stopping the bleeding and holding on to his life. It was your young master here who saved his own brother. Min-hien worriedly placed his hand on his older son's forehead, then smiled with relief. He bowed even deeper than before, continuing to express his thanks. This kindness is beyond words. I don't know how to repay it. Tae-hao took hold of his frail hands, feeling awkward. Oh, no need. The child was fated to be saved, so please don't worry about it. He thought to himself, I never expected my master to have such an expression. It's completely out of my expectations. Suddenly, he noticed something was off. Min-hien called out, making him feel confused. Young master. Min-hien immediately changed his tone seriously, suggesting, Could we perhaps move to another place to talk? Tae-hao stammered, Is something wrong? Then Min-hien glanced at the older brother, but he still looked puzzled. Is something wrong? Then Min-hien glanced at the older brother. He gently said, This isn't the right place to discuss it. Better to be careful. It's about your physical condition. The two of them were strolling through the dark forest, talking without any guards. And you came all the way here at this late hour. It makes me feel bad. Tae-hao quickly replied, It's fine. He also spoke his mind directly. I just hope the conversation doesn't fall on the wrong ears. He was startled by that straightforwardness. You're truly wise. Tae-hao fell into deep thought. Could the inner energy I got from the Qing Ice Snow Plum have really changed my body in some way? His eyes turned serious. Has my master sensed that already? He cautiously asked, Have you ever heard of the mystic dragon star body? Tae-hao responded with a long silence. He smiled lightly in return. So you already know. Min-hien bowed his head with a chuckle. Tae-hao was startled by his words. Please don't be too tense. Min-hien had also seen the power within Tae-hao. Actually, when I held your hand earlier, I felt a powerful surge of cold inner energy. Since I practice ice-based techniques myself, I naturally recognized it. He looked at him thoughtfully. That's how I realized your body is the mystic dragon star body. Tae-hao curiously asked, Do you know anything about this body type? Min-hien calmly replied, In the past, I was fortunate enough to meet someone with the mystic dragon star body. His eyes widened in surprise. Really? Someone else had the same body type as me? Min-hien answered with concern. Yes, but I can't reveal that person's identity. I truly apologize, young master. He felt a bit embarrassed and scratched his cheek. If it's for personal reasons, then I guess that's that. His expression suddenly became serious. Actually, the reason I'm bringing this up is to ask. Min-hien got straight to the point. May I teach you my ice techniques? This was something Tae-hao had anticipated. He acted surprised, just as he'd planned. He gazed into the space ahead because you saved my child. That's how we met and how I discovered your special body type. It's all fate. Min-hien wanted to show his gratitude for that fate. Damn it, do you think I wanted to be wrong? I also want to repay kindness with courtesy. He then bows to show respect, so please allow this young master. Tae-hao just bows his head and smiles quietly. This no-good disciple, because everything's going so smoothly, can't help but smile. Finally, he bows to show his respect. Please teach me a lot, master. Finally, he bowed to show his respect. Please teach me well, master. Min-hien was surprised by his attitude. I didn't expect you to agree so quickly. Tae-hao smiled and explained, The Sungyun Escort Agency is a trustworthy group that's been partnered with the Anha Trading Group for years. It's been partnered with the Anha Trading Group for years. He listened intently to what he said. An opportunity like this to have the 8 escort leaders of the Zhongyun Escort Agency as my master. How could I turn it down? Escort leaders, the heads of the escort agency. Min Hien showed his delight and said, I see. If that's your wish, then starting tomorrow morning, I'll guide you directly in beginning your training. The next morning, the two of them sat on the steps. This technique is called the Supreme Yin Ice Ocean Divine Skill. Min Hien placed his powerful hand on his back. Since you already have inner energy in your Dantian, first memorize the energy flow path that I'll guide you through. Then circulate your energy just like that. He was trying to guide the energy flow into Tai Hao. He sat still, trying to absorb it. Min Hien said in disbelief, That's strange. He could see the meridians in Tai Hao's body. I can't believe all your meridians are already fully opened. That energy flow was circulating throughout his body. Min Hien stopped at that moment. Tai Hao opened his eyes slightly when he heard him call, Young Master. He asked directly without hesitation, Have you ever heard of this technique before? He was still a bit dazed. Tai Hao recalled the past and lied. How could that be? Oh, right. Not long ago, I opened all my meridians. Min Hien was still curious. In that case, have you ever been in a life-or-death situation because of cold yin energy? He hesitated and made up a reasonable excuse. Actually, not long ago, I mistakenly used a spiritual herb the wrong way, and my body almost couldn't handle it, nearly killing me. It's not entirely a lie because it was that painful, almost to death. At that, he smiled, satisfied. Ah, that makes sense. Legend has it that this technique was created by an ancient master. In a moment of near death in the snowy northern lands driven by survival instinct, he developed it. An old man was sitting circulating his inner energy. Maybe you've been through something similar. Tai Hao silently thought, Yeah, even if I told my master, he might not believe the whole truth. Even if I did, he probably wouldn't believe it. Seeing he didn't say anything, Min Hien patted his shoulder. The young master shyly turned to look at him. Yes. He flashed a bright smile. This is great news, because you already have strong inner energy and open meridians, so you can start using this technique right away. After thinking it over, Min Hien decided, so we can move straight to physical and tendon training to make the technique more effective, starting today. Tai Hao was stunned like a bolt from the blue. Today he felt miserable hearing him confirm it again. Yes, I'll train you with enough intensity to make you curse everything under the sun. Min Hien thought of his son and felt even more emotional. You've saved my child's life, so one day this training will save yours. He showed his sincerity. I have to take this seriously. Tai Hao was gloomily looking at something in the study. Right after he trembled as he had to stand in a horse stance with water buckets. Everyone around watched intently. Tai Hao wiped the sweat from his forehead trying to practice his writing. Training and work duties alternated and his whole body shook, thinking about his master's attitude. Every day I'll assign you training tasks. Even while working, you have to keep up with the practice. Tai Hao smiled lightly to himself. For this winter solstice break, I'll do nothing but rest up. Just then, the door swung open. Linling hesitantly informed the chief steward, Toak. There's a visitor, sir. Toak was surprised by this. What a visitor. He was furious and snapped. Don't you see I'm busy? She replied gently. It's Master Tong who's here. Toak immediately changed his attitude and headed out. Then I have to go. He didn't forget to urge Tai Hao. Why are you still standing there, young master? Hurry and get ready. He was surprised and asked me too. Toak rubbed his forehead, looking headache. Since Master Tong came in person, there must be business to discuss. And as such, it's likely there'll be documents and records to handle. Tai Hao looked baffled as he spoke. But right now I have the pile of work stacked up. In the end, all the paperwork for this will be your responsibility, young master. If I go alone and have to come back and explain it to you, it's a hassle. Oh no, I mean that'd just waste time, right? It's not efficient at all. Tai Hao saw right through his intentions. In the end, it's just because you're avoiding the teaching and dumping it all on me, isn't it? I really need to escape this crazy place. Yes, he finally went out and instructed his subordinate. So Lin make sure to take good care of the young master. Her face turned red as she heard her superior say that. I'll add more duties when I get back. Lin enthusiastically grabbed a rope. Yes, Chief Steward. This left Tai Hao confused. Wait a minute. The walls extended their hands as if inviting the person in front. It's been so long since you visited. The great landlord of Shenyang County in Hubei Province, Master Tong, felt a bit down. Yeah, but he was puzzled seeing someone tied up. What's going on here? Toak awkwardly pointed to Tai Hao. Oh, don't mind him. He's my subordinate working under me. Master Tong was a bit taken aback, thinking to himself. He almost said slave just now. He took a sip of wine and spoke openly without holding back. I'm here this time to ask the Anha trading group for help with something. Cat Tung looked at him seriously. It seems you're in some trouble. He set down his wine glass and started explaining. A few days ago, my 10 acres of land weren't recorded in the tax books, and the provincial official took it very seriously. Master Tong couldn't hide the sadness in his eyes. So I discussed it with the county magistrate, who's been a close friend for years. Cat Tung was sipping wine while listening intently. He seems to have a bit of a misunderstanding with me, but if I can offer that item, at least I can meet him to explain myself. His face suddenly turned serious. What I'm looking for is a puppet that dances on its own every hour. Tae Hao was stunned like thunder had struck, thinking to himself. A puppet that dances by itself. Everyone listening couldn't hide their surprise. A puppet that can dance on its own. Cat Tung slammed his teacup on the table, seeming really excited about it. He looked seriously at Tong Trang Chu. First off, I understand your situation, but still. Cat Tung's hesitation made him even more anxious. He asked again. Is the person really searching for that item the ambassador himself? Tong Trang Chu bit his lip and struggled to explain. Actually, this has to do with Chu Funyun. When he mentioned that name, his whole body shook with fear. The three of them at the table fell into deep thought. Finally, someone spoke up. Tong Trang Chu. I hate to be blunt, but I'm afraid our trading group can't take on this request. The young man sitting nearby also went quiet. If it's that Chu Funyun, then from some point, a strange pastime started trending among the noble ladies, a game with rotating rules every month. In it, each noble lady has to find a rare artifact specified by others, like a flower made of gold, for example. The loser has to treat all the participants to a feast of fine food and drinks, and the winner gets pampered by the other ladies like royalty until the next round starts. The one who created and hosts this whole pastime is one person. That person is the wife of Lord Fo Tin Ti Chu Funyun. It started with her. At first, it was just a fleeting fun thing, and Chu Funyun was always surrounded by other ladies flattering her. Oh heavens, your silk is so soft, your ring is so exquisite. But in the end, the competition got so fierce that it hurt ordinary folks too. It's just a pastime, but why are they all throwing themselves into it so desperately? In my past life, I never understood it. Now I get it a bit. Tong Trang Chu trembled violently at that refusal. He stared down at the teacup in his hands, not daring to face the truth. For me, this is so unfair. The other estate owners also looked troubled as he shared. All my life, I've never done anything shameful. I can hold my head high and swear to the heavens, yet I'm accused of owing taxes on 10 acres. What kind of nonsense is this? Tong Trang Chu gritted his teeth, holding back tears. Finally, he bows to show his respect. Please teach me a lot, master. But if I can get that item, I can meet Lord Fo Tin Ti in person and clear this injustice myself. So I'm swallowing my pride to ask for your help here. Tae Hao looks at him with sympathy. Was it really because of Madam Chu that Estate Master Tong and so many other landowners ended up ruined for tax evasion and took their own lives in his past life? Estate Master Tong has been a long-time acquaintance of our merchant group and is a man respected by the people. Not long after, Tae Hao's eyes wandered as he started thinking things through. If I help him this time, he'd surely be grateful forever. But then he frowned, feeling uneasy. Right now, getting involved with Chu Funyun is way too risky. On the other side, Tong Trang Chu couldn't hold back and started sobbing. This sight made Tae Hao realize, and he laughed at himself. What am I even thinking? Why did our trading group end up so terribly? As someone who's traveled back in time, I've decided to do something, and I can't forget that. Finally, Tae Hao stood up and hesitantly called to his father. Immediately, Tuak untied him with lightning speed. Tong Trang Chu witnessed this and was baffled. Isn't he a slave? He calmly looked at everyone. I have an important matter to discuss. Tae Hao smiled confidently and explained. That ancient artifact, let me go find it myself. The next day, Tae Hao packed up and hit the road. Tae Hao's eyes were full of thought. The real name of the item Tong Trang Chu mentioned is the self-dancing puppet figure. He stared blankly out the window, thinking to himself. In my past life, there was info that the potter who made it came from Kim Tien village in Jiangxi province. Jiangxi province. If I follow that lead and ask around, there's at least a chance to find his trail. The key is Tae Hao is trying to figure out how to handle it. I have to avoid any direct confrontation with Chu Funyun. He recalled the events from back then. Anyway, it won't be long before the emperor's decree comes down and puts a stop to the noble lady's game. The main lady was beheaded then, and Chu Funyun's arrogant behavior will end forever. As long as I don't reveal my identity until then, it'll be fine. The person sitting across from him spoke up. Young master. Tae-hao snapped out of his thoughts. In that moment he jumped, startled, to see Nam looking dark and angry. What in the world is going on? She stared at him with eyes full of intensity. Wherever you go, at least say something first, like why and when. You didn't say a word yesterday, and now you're saying we have to go all the way to Jiangxi for this escort mission, or just head straight to some labor camp. Nam kept complaining to Tae-hao. On top of that, the snow is making the roads treacherous. Tae-hao waved it off and explained, well, I'm at the age where I need to start these escort missions anyway. And besides, this is a really important task for our on-high trading group. Tae-hao pulled something out of his pocket at the same time. Father and everyone in the group have approved. He smiled and showed her the knife. My brothers also gave me gifts to wish me safe travels. Nam stared at the shiny knife in his hand and was at a loss for words. All right, fine. Put that knife away since the road's dangerous. She changed the subject. But hey, looking at Bot Jap grinning like an idiot, she asked, confused, why are you smiling so much? He happily replied, because this is Tae-hao's first escort mission. Getting to serve our young master on his first venture into the world makes me Bot Jap feel both excited and thrilled. The person next to Nam also chimed in with a smile. Exactly, Lady Warrior, please relax. Nyum King Tun from Tai King. Various levels added to Bat Jap. Our youngest master may be young, but he's got deep thoughts and talents that stand out. He turned to Tae-hao. I'll do my best to assist so you can complete this mission quickly and safely. He was touched by the look, but Nam Kan Tun's next words left Tae-hao stunned. Besides, the head manager specifically ordered that you have to return as soon as possible. Nam crossed her arms sarcastically. Return as soon as possible. The head manager sure knows how to say nice things. He just cried inside. Nam, even you too. Nyum Kangtun laughed it off again. Anyway, this escort mission includes Kwak, the escort leader from Zungyun Escort Agency, and Trin Sung, the team captain from Unfeng Team, so even if something goes wrong, there's no need to worry too much. As long as we don't run into bandits or thieves, it should be fine. No sooner had he spoken than the carriage shook violently. Tae-hao panicked and grabbed onto the person next to him, staring in shock. Did my words just jinx us? He quickly got out of the carriage. What's going on? The people outside left him a bit dazed. Two fierce-looking old men with scars were blocking the road. The coachman, but unexpectedly they smiled and greeted, long time no see, what an honor. The other two from the group stepped forward, first Kwak Min Hien, the escort leader from Zungyun Escort Agency and Tae-hao's master. The other is Trin Sung, the team captain of Anfeng Team. He smiled back. Yes, everyone's been doing well, right? Scarface glanced at the carriage's direction and asked, From the looks of it, you're all heading to Jiangxi. Trin Sung pointed that way. Yes, exactly. We're transporting some waterproof items. We have to clear snow as we go, so we're not making much progress. Well, that's good news for us then. Everyone's pretty worn out. Scarface perked up. Yeah, that's good news for us. He looked behind him and invited, The camp leader says to invite you all to our mountain camp for a hot cup of tea to warm up before continuing. Trin Zheng and Kwak Min Hien exchanged looks and nodded. Tae-hao, standing off to the side, stared in surprise at Scarface's place on Godong camp. The scene in front of him seemed to trigger some memories. In this area, if it's a mountain camp, it's probably that one. After passing through the camp gate, Tae-hao pondered the setup inside Godong camp. In this region, it has to be that person, right? This camp is pretty large. At the long banquet table, Trung Dai-to's hearty laughter rang out. It's great to see everyone like this. He started introducing himself warmly. I'm the camp leader of Ngo Dong Mountain, Trung Dai-to, the ghost with the wolf-tooth blade. The others also introduced themselves. I'm Trin Sung, team captain of Anfeng Team under An-hai Trading Group. I'm Kwak Min Hien, escort leader of Zungyun Escort Agency. Dai-to showed his hospitality. I was worried the harsh weather might leave you cold or frostbitten, so I invited you here. Even though it's sudden, thank you all for accepting. Trin Zung politely replied, Actually, we should be the ones thanking you. As you said, camp leader, we're in desperate need of a rest. In his heart, Tae-hao nodded in approval of Trung Dai-to. This guy is straightforward and approachable, even as the leader of Ngodong camp. He raised his teacup. Let's start the feast then. Come on, before the tea and food get cold, please dig in. Botjap leaned in and whispered to Nyum beside him. This female guard, aren't we walking into a bandit's den? Why is everyone so relaxed? It seems Tae-Hao overheard. He answered right away, bandits or pirates don't always clash with escort agencies or trading groups. As long as we pay the usual passage fee, we can pass safely. Botjap was full of admiration. Young master, you're a total expert. Nyum sensed something off. What she's saying made Tae-Hao fume. Back in my time, you're talking like you've been through it all. Isn't this your first escort mission? He quickly covered, my brother said that too. It's just golden advice from real experience. Come on, the food's getting cold. Let's eat before it wastes away. Suddenly, Tae-Hao tilted his head back and downed his tea. This tea's pretty good. It must be expensive. And in winter like this, how do you have so much to spare? Suddenly, someone noticed him. And you there. Daito skillfully steered the conversation. You don't look like someone who does escorts often, do you? Tae-Hao stood up then. Not at all. I'm An Tae-Hao, working at Taikin Various of Unhai Trading Group. Daito said with hidden meaning. On any relation to the owner of Unhai Trading Group, he admitted straightforwardly, that's my father. Hearing that, he laughed like he'd hit the jackpot. No wonder you're so sharp-eyed, Tae-Hao. It's an honor to host such a VIP. Come on, sit down and keep eating. He just nodded slightly, but Tae-Hao's eyes glanced across. The people under Daito are also sitting at the table with them. They're all skinny. His eyes looked down at the dishes on the table. In Tae-Hao's mind, he compared. Compared to this, the other side's food looks a bit plain, doesn't it? He set down his chopsticks as he thought. He's probably not the type to entertain guests and neglect his own people. A camp this size and still struggling like this? Tae-Hao picked up on it. This atmosphere is a bit odd. In tough times, they're still inviting guests and treating them well, while the host isn't even touching his food. So he wants more travel fees than usual, but doesn't want to use force or lose face. Tae-Hao started thinking, he probably doesn't know about something hidden in this mountain yet. If I play this smart. He spoke up right away. True camp leader, he didn't hold back and got straight to the point. Are you going through some tough times lately? Daihao's face darkened, young master. Young master Un, his expression looked fierce. It seems you've said something offensive about our camp. Tae-Hao awkwardly scratched his head. If I've upset you, I apologize. But do you really need to react that strongly? Daito responded. What did you say? He continued. In my view, this camp doesn't need to hold on to passers-by or force hospitality in hard times just to demand a higher passage fee than usual. Trin Sung was shocked. How did you know all that? Tae-Hao exposed the truth. You're even pretending to eat heartily. Daito sternly questioned. So are you saying we invited you for a nice meal just to hide that we want more fees? He calmly admitted, isn't that right? He slammed his chopsticks on the table. Daito pushed himself up with both hands. His subordinates all stayed silent on the side. Daito's remaining eye radiated intense killing intent. Nyum silently cursed Tae-Hao in her mind. This guy's totally lost it. What are you planning now? And Botjap was already bracing himself. Mom, I'm heading out first. Unlike what everyone thought, Daito suddenly burst out laughing. Then he leaned back and laughed even harder. Everyone started to be confused. Only Tae-Hao was laughing. Daito doesn't hide it anymore. If my acting's too clumsy, then I apologize. You're right, sir. He clenches his fist. Fate's been against us. This winter's heavy snow has left the mountain camp in a bad way. And seeing how you brought it up knowing it could be misunderstood, you must have a plan already. Tae-Hao can't help but admire. You're truly one of the most straightforward bandit leaders out there. Even in my past life, you weren't born to be a thief forever. Your answer makes Daito light up. Of course. You turn your head to look back. I have a simple but effective way. He laughs heartily. You're pretty confident, huh? So what's this method? Tae-Hao decides to probe a little more. Look at the blade resting behind Daihao. But first, camp leader, that sword is yours, right? From the look of the blade, it's clearly well-maintained. He proudly boasted, of course. For martial arts folks, weapons are like part of their body, so taking good care of them is basic. Daito asked back. But how does that relate to your method, young master? He spoke up. In that case, for you, camp leader, is this Ngo camp worth less than a single sword? He immediately shot back, what do you mean this place is everything I have? How could you say that? Tae-hao started questioning, so why have you been neglecting its management? Yum was so angry he could spit fire, you jerk, stop it! Yum was so angry he could spit fire, you jerk, stop it! Daito wondered. What do you mean by management? Tae-hao pointed toward the window behind him. It's the snow. Tae-hao explained that with all the heavy snow traffic has dropped off a lot. Is it because you can't collect the usual road fees that things are so tough? We've had a real hard time getting here ourselves. Even with a big group in this situation, smaller convoys or just a few people probably wouldn't dare think about crossing the mountains. From the start, if you cleared the snow and opened the paths, people wouldn't have to go around the mountains. That'd be good for them. And for you, camp leader, you'd get more road fees. That'd be good too. In the end, everyone wins, right? By the way, you could just boldly say that since we've cleared the road, charging extra fees is fair. So everyone's bound to nod and agree. Daito was stunned. There's a way like that too. The others marveled, wow, even something like clearing snow and opening roads never crossed our minds. The result is that guy's really well-read and sharp-minded. Another person quickly corrected, what do you mean that guy we're talking to the young master here? They kept muttering, but how come the camp leader never thought of something so straightforward? Another guy snapped, hey, you idiot, don't say that out loud. Someone agreed, yeah, the camp leader might get hurt hearing that. Daito listened and felt helpless. Those guys. He spoke up. Young master, I'm embarrassed by my narrow-mindedness for not thinking of something so simple. Because I didn't understand your generous heart and I even acted rudely. I have no face left. Trung Daito owes you a big debt. So, is there anything you'd like me to do to repay it? Tae-hao was surprised by this sincere statement. He smiled to himself. Here it comes. Tae-hao asked without hesitation, in that case, camp leader, could you spare some time for a private chat with me? Tae-hao's eyes gleamed like a true businessman. I have something that could bring huge benefits to both Ngo camp and us. On the mountaintop, Tae-hao and Daito stood together admiring the view. Looking down at the camp below, he couldn't help but exclaim, oh, what a stunning scenery. Daito, standing beside him, laughed. This is our camp's pride. He said proudly, I set up camp here because I love the landscape. Especially in winter with the snow blanketing everything, like now it's a true wonder. After saying that, he asked suspiciously, but if you asked for a private meeting, it must be important. Maybe it's time to get to the point. Tae-hao turned and asked, Camp leader, how much do you know about Lin Tao? Hearing that, Daito asked curiously, I'm not too clear on it, but why are you bringing up Lin Tao all of a sudden? Tae-hao didn't answer. He suddenly fell silent in thought. It happened about 5 years ago before I died. Tae-hao's eyes gazed toward the distant camp. When rumors of Lin Tao on Godong Mountain spread to the camp, things got chaotic. Not long after, the Martial Arts Alliance leader wiped out Trung camp leader's camp and took all the spiritual herbs on Godong Mountain for himself. Tae-hao frowned slightly. However, the Martial Arts Alliance leader still doesn't know about the existence of Lin Tao. He paused for a moment and said, Camp leader. Tae-hao spoke while looking at him with a slight smile. Actually, on Ngodong Mountain, there are countless rare spiritual herbs growing all over right under your feet, camp leader. Daito was startled and looked down. Tae-hao pointed to the spiritual herbs on the ground. This is a blue flower called Snow Soul Herb. This spiritual herb is very effective for treating internal injuries in the organs. He continued. There's also white tiger spirit that helps regulate accumulated toxins in the body, and snow ginseng that aids in better absorption of medicinal properties. Tae-hao concluded firmly, countless spiritual herbs like these all grow on this mountain. Daito, hearing this, asked in surprise, Where on earth did you get that information? He smiled and explained, As a merchant to deal in various goods, knowing about herbs and mountain terrain is basic. Daito laughed but was still full of doubt. Even as a merchant, not many can spot spiritual herbs so quickly. Tae-hao chuckled lightly and shifted the topic. The details are a business secret, but for now just think of me as not your average merchant. In his mind, he thought, though I can't say straight out that I know the future. Daito saw this and said with curiosity, You're bold, that's for sure. So what do you want from me? Right away, he got straight to the point. Please allow us exclusive rights to buy the spiritual herbs on this mountain, camp leader, and keep the supply confidential. He hesitated and asked, The deal isn't impossible, but why keep it so secret? Tae-hao followed up. If news of the spiritual herbs spreads, everyone will suffer. We might have to compete with other trading groups for distribution rights. And you, camp leader, would face bandits. Daito nodded in agreement. Yeah, spiritual herbs that valuable aren't ordinary. It's no surprise if outsiders eye them. His face darkened immediately and he gritted his teeth angrily, like those so-called righteous bandits who do evil. Tae-Hao tensed up at his attitude. He thought to himself, is he referring to the martial arts alliance? Tae-Hao leaned toward Daito and persuaded him earnestly, if you sign a contract with us, you'll get spiritual herbs at a good price and even receive guides on distinguishing real herbs from fakes. He smiled expectantly. Do you want to make the deal? Daito didn't hesitate and shook his hand right away. He decided and said, all right, I'll deal with the Ngenhai Trading Group. He nodded and replied, thank you. So I'll come back to draft the contract. Daito smiled contentedly. You're always so cautious in the end. Tae-Hao happily responded, exactly, contracts are basic for any deal. The scene shifts to another place as the door slowly opens. Tae-Hao returned and stood outside looking in with a puzzled expression. Suddenly he shouted excitedly, wait! At that moment, Bot Jap, with tears in his eyes, ran up and hugged him tight, yelling, young master, he burst into sobs. You took so long to come back that we thought something bad had happened. Tae-Hao was confused. Oh, why worry so much? At the same time, someone entered from outside and said, as long as you're safe, that's good. Trin Sung spoke slowly. Even though it was at your request, young master, letting you go alone without guards made us really uneasy. Hearing that, he awkwardly waved it off. Oh, come on, I'm fine. From the start, if I felt any danger, I wouldn't have asked for a private meeting. Just then, Daito and a group entered and said, you all are worrying about nothing. He kept praising, the young master is stronger than I thought. He's among the top here. Trin Sung heard that and exclaimed in confusion, huh? Daito Tan stepped into the group and shouted, everyone listen up. He announced loudly, from today I decide to treat young master An Tae-Hao of the Ngenhai Trading Group as our benefactor. So make sure to treat the benefactor and his entourage with the utmost care. Then he turned to him and said cheerfully, and I don't want to be known as an ungrateful jerk who charges road fees from a benefactor, so feel free to go on your way. Hearing that, he felt a bit awkward and said, no way, we've eaten here, so we can't leave empty-handed. Yum Tae-Hao took a bag of money and went up to Daito negotiating. If it's really inconvenient, please think of this not as road fees, but as a deposit for the contract we signed today. He laughed in response, you're never one to back down, so I'll accept your goodwill. As soon as he finished, he happily took the bag of money. Tae-Hao turned to everyone. All right, we should hit the road. He thought to himself that he's the heir of the Ngenhai Trading Group. There's a lot waiting ahead. Daito looked at him with satisfaction, thinking, so he's the heir of the Ngenhai Trading Group. At such a young age, he's already so capable and clever. This made Daito unconsciously think of an old acquaintance from the past. In his blurry memories, as he stood before a village engulfed in raging flames, a voice shouted from behind, please snap out of it! A figure rushed over, trying to pull him from the sea of fire. Are you trying to die for nothing? He yelled, forget about revenge and run away right now. Then he snatched the sword from Daito's hand and said loudly, from now on, you have to hide your martial arts from them and use a different weapon. Amid the roaring flames, the man urged fiercely, please survive. Daito looked straight into his eyes and every word sank deep into his subconscious. No matter what happens, you must survive. That memory flooded back, making Daito look at Tae-Hao thoughtfully. He thought, young master, meeting someone as brave as you reminds me of him from back then. It suddenly makes me think of the past. Daito watched the carriage fade into the distance and his heart stirred. It suddenly makes me think of the past. He looked up, a slight smile on his lips. You told me not to dream of revenge, but how can I live cowardly turning my back on you and the family? Still, there are things I can't help but wonder, because the young master is just like him. He thought about Tae-Hao and grew even more suspicious. Because the young master is just like him, where will he end up? In the pitch-black darkness, Tae-Hao stood alone. Suddenly, he opened his eyes wide. Tae-Hao looked around worriedly. What is this place? His eyes noticed something, so he glanced behind. Yeah, at Tae-Hao's feet, a human-shaped doll with shattered head and body split in two. His eyes flashed with surprise. Why is there a doll here? At the same time, a mournful crying sound echoed from afar. Sob, sob. Tae-Hao turned again. Is anyone there? From afar, a boy was kneeling before the bodies of a family of 3, crying loudly, Father, Mother! He suddenly felt confused. It was a child. Tae-Hao approached the boy and asked, Hey, are you okay? The boy immediately grabbed his clothes and wouldn't let go. The boy looked up at Tae-Hao, trembling. This time for sure! The boy's eyes were blank, lifeless. It looked terrifying. The fear made him suddenly wake up, breathing heavily. Tae-hao realized he was still in bed. It was just a dream. Someone saw his strange expression and rushed over. "Oh no, young master." Batjap grabbed Tae-hao's hand, tears in his eyes. "Are you okay, young master?" He slowly sat up in bed, not yet explaining when another person jumped in. "What is it?" Nam frowned at Tae-hao. "Did you have a nightmare?" He patted Batjap's back to calm him. "It's nothing, probably just a bad dream." Tae-hao felt a bit relieved in his heart. It was just a dream. That dream really gave him a lot to think about. "I have to find that child quickly or else—" Nam saw Tae-hao's concerning condition and sighed. "Lately, you've been pushing yourself too hard, looking for that Potter or whatever." He just smiled awkwardly. "Is that so?" Batjap helped Tae-hao get out of bed. "He's really in a tough spot now. If we handle this matter well, we'll gain a lot. Even so, if we handle this matter well, we'll gain a lot." Yam understood that, but she couldn't stand seeing Tae-hao work himself to exhaustion. He kept his attitude light. "Come on, let's get going today, too." Tae-hao smiled and went to find that doll-making artisan. Then the three of them set off for the market. Today is the third day we've been in Kimteen Village. He absent-mindedly watched Batjap casually buying candied hawthorn. "Thanks to the arrangements from my master and Captain Trin Sung, I can come and go freely like this." Thinking about that made Tae-hao frustrated. "And yet I still haven't found that artisan." He frowned slightly in thought. "Intelligence says that right now the artisan should be in this village Kim Tien. There's also a clue that he lives in a house with a paulownia tree. I thought it would be easy to find, but Tae-hao looked around. In front of you is a house with a paulownia tree, and over here, there's another house with an identical tree, too." Tae-hao could only mutter to himself in frustration. The whole area is just full of paulownia trees. Nam, walking beside him, frowned slightly again. Why put yourself through this misery? Batjap Tho was still cheerful, munching on his candied hawthorn while happily exclaiming, "Oh my!" He kept walking. First, they needed to circle around a bit more. Little did they know a figure was tailing them closely from behind. That man was staring straight at Tae-hao. He quickly noticed the tail. Tae-hao glanced to the other side. There was another tail over there, too. Here we go again. Ever since news spread that I arrived in Golden Fairy Village, rival merchants have been secretly watching us these past few days, afraid that the Yin Xia trading group might encroach on their territory. Nam leaned in and whispered to him, "Young master, it looks like they're tailing us again." Tae-hao grumbled, "Yeah, seems that way." He rubbed his chin in annoyance. Even though he understood the reason, it was still a hassle. Just tracking down clues about the craftsman who makes the puppets was already draining. First things first, they needed to shake off those tails. Thinking on his feet, Tae-hao ran over and bumped shoulders with his servant Batjap. "Hey, this market is full of interesting stuff, isn't it?" "Even after seeing it for days, the food options are still plenty," Batjap replied innocently. "Yes, sir. Even after seeing it for days, the food is abundant, and there are all sorts of oddities, right?" He laughed. "In that case, let's head over there and check it out today." Batjap got excited. "Yes, sir." Nam stood aside, watching and wondering what Tae-hao was up to. Suddenly, those two took off running ahead. She shouted in confusion, "Wait up, why run off like that out of nowhere?" In the end, all that echoed back was his call, "Come with me." After some scrambling around, the three of them sat down by the road to rest. To shake off the tails, they had wandered all over the market for a while. Ham, exhausted, looked at Tae-hao. "Looks like they've finally given up." Batjap, hearing that, got scared and blurted out, "There were people tailing us." He scoffed at him. "Of course, why else did we suddenly run like that?" Batjap quickly backtracked. "Well, I kind of guessed it." Tae-hao smirked lazily. Sure. Just then a shout rang out, catching his attention. "Thief!" A man was chasing a thief. "Oh no, that guy without that thing, my family will starve." The thief was heading straight toward where the three were resting. Tae-hao just glanced quietly at the thief. He suddenly grabbed the candied apple on a stick from Batjap. "Let me borrow this for a second." Tae-hao channeled his energy into the apple. The Tai-Yin Ice Sea Divine Art is the most effective way to gather yin energy. He recalled Ming Xian's teachings from before, and once you master this technique, the sword in his hand would gradually freeze over. Ming Xian swung the frosty sword in front of Tae-hao. So infusing an object with yin energy like this could be done using his technique. He made the apple in his hand freeze solid. Tae-hao held the sharp, frozen apple with a smirk. "Is this good enough now?" He stared intently in the direction of the thief. But this was more than enough. Tae Hao hurled the apple hard at him. Bat Jap watched his apple fly away heartbroken. My apple. The thief, unaware he was about to be hit, grumbled at the man chasing him. Damn, you're like a leech! Suddenly, the thief's foot stepped on the frozen apple that had been thrown. Instantly, the thief's momentum made him tumble forward, rolling on the ground before landing face first. The thief cursed in irritation. Ugh, who throws crap like that on the ground? Before he could finish, 3 figures appeared in front of him. Taking it easy, young Master Tae Hao calmly said to the thief, Please hand over the pouch. Bat Jap was more forceful. He's a nasty thief. The thief, terrified, sat up straight and held it out with both hands. Here it is. Bat Jap quickly snatched the pouch back. He took the pouch from Bat Jap. Thank you, Bat Jap. At the same time, the robbed man had arrived. Tae Hao handed the pouch back to him. Here you go. The man was utterly surprised. Oh, thank you so much. He pointed at the thief who was being held by Bat Jap. We'll hand this one over to the authorities. You can rest easy. The man looked at Tae Hao gratefully. If it's not too much trouble, please come to my house for some tea. I wouldn't feel right letting you go like this. He waved it off quickly. Oh, no need, it was nothing. Calling me a benefactor is too much. But facing the man's earnest eyes, Tae Hao couldn't refuse and hesitated. All right, let's go have that tea. The 3 followed the man to an old house. He led them inside. Though the house was simple, he politely said, It's modest, but it feels warm and cozy. From inside, 2 kids, a boy and a girl, peeked out curiously. Seeing him, the 2 kids joyfully ran out. Father, both rushed over and hugged him tight. The man smiled. Oh, you kids having fun playing together? He turned and shyly introduced, These are my little ones. Come on, say hello. The 2 kids politely chimed in. Hello, Uncle. Tae Hao stared blankly at the family scene. Hang on. He pieced together the details, looking around the small house. The house had a paulonia tree, and most of all, the boy's face looked exactly like the one from his dream, stirring him up. A melodious cry echoed from the house in the middle of the day, filling the air. Tae Hao focused his thoughts. Could that child really be the puppet craftsman I'm looking for? Nam, arms crossed nearby, suggested, Why not just ask straight up if he knows how to make puppets? In the end, he gave in and decided, Yeah, might as well ask directly. Tae Hao thought about the child from his dream. Weird, his face looks a bit like the kid I saw in my dream. He quickly went to the necessary house to ask. Kongdao warmly brought out tea for Tae Hao. Have you been waiting long? He gently placed the teacup on the table with a bit of apology. A noble guest like you visiting, and all I can offer is this. He graciously lifted the teacup with both hands to sip. Not at all. The tea's aroma is so smooth and rich, it's wonderful. Thank you for the tea. Suddenly, Kongdao remembered something and set the tray down. Oh, that reminds me I haven't properly introduced myself. He bowed his head, hands clasped in respect. I'm Kongdao, living in Golden Fairy Village, making pottery for a living every day. About what happened earlier, I thank you once more for your help. He gestured. No need for formalities, but as I said, it was just the right thing to do. You're being too polite and it's making me uncomfortable. He jumped right to the main topic. By the way, what are the names of your 2 little ones? Kongdao scratched his head and replied, Oh, they're my kids. He introduced his 2 children. The older boy is Kong Mat, and the younger girl is Kong Lai. Hearing that, Tae Hao nodded. I see, then I should introduce myself too. I'm An Tae Hao from Chongyang County in Hubei Province. Thank you for the kind hospitality. Kongdao, noticing his fancy clothes, said politely, You're of high status, yet you humble yourself to ask about our humble situation. I'm not worthy. He smiled humbly. Not at all, just an ordinary merchant like me admiring a family like yours raised by your hands. How can I compare to a father raising 2 great kids? Tae Hao empathized with Kongdao's struggles. Though I've never experienced it, I've heard raising a child is like governing an empire. Comforted by his words, he shared more while looking at his kids. It's not easy. I just wish I were better so I wouldn't feel guilty toward them. Tae Hao watched the kids playing outside, so innocent. I might be overstepping, but your family is full of love, and seeing those 2 kids grow up so bright, that's proof enough. Among them, a wooden wheel slowly rolled over. The wheel was small, moving slowly like a kid's toy. This lifeless object successfully caught Tai Hao's attention. He immediately turned to the kids and asked curiously, "Hey, can I ask something?" "Did you kids make this thing?" Kong Lai held the toy and quickly answered. "Oh, this one, my brother made it." Tai Hao's eyes lit up as he looked at the kids and the toy like it was gold. The girl proudly showed off what Kong Mat had created. There are even more toys like this. He immediately realized something. This is an automatic cart, though it's rougher than the ones I saw in my past life. Tai Hao examined the wooden cart called Kong Lai closely. But it's definitely an automatic one. Just wind the gear and set it down and it goes on its own. He thought back to the toys of noble kids. They were once a big hit with rich kids. His admiration poured toward the boy. And this kid made it. His eyes widened in disbelief. If that's true, Tai Hao praised in amazement. "Oh, that's incredible. Besides this, what else have you made yourself?" Kong Mat hesitated shyly. That one." But Kong Lai jumped in. Of course. She quickly ran off to find more. Kong Lai brought out a skillfully carved wooden figurine. "Look at this." Seeing the small, cute toy, he felt more certain about his guess. It's definitely it. Tai Hao examined every detail on the wooden figurine, though this one is still rough compared to the servant puppets in my memories. But at this early stage, that's probably as far as they could get. The toy was spinning smoothly, but suddenly stopped, confusing the girl. "Huh?" Kong Lai asked sadly. "Why isn't it moving?" The boy picked up the toy to check it. "Looks like the material inside the puppet is worn out." Kong Mat held the wooden figurine gently and explained, "Normally, when you turn this gear, the elasticity of the fish bladder inside creates the force to make the puppet move on its own." His face turned disappointed as he said sadly, "But this time, since it was made from scrap materials from the market, it probably broke fast." Hearing that, he asked Matt if you had the right materials, "Could you make this puppet again?" At that, the boy smiled happily and nodded yes. Kung Dao praised my boy is really handy with little things like that. He patted Kong Mat's head, but his voice grew sad. "It's praiseworthy, but skills like that don't make money. It's just for fun for the village kids and his little sister." Hearing that Tai Hao objected, "Doesn't make money. How can you say that?" He confidently declared, "Kong, this is a gift from heaven for Kong Mat." Those words surprised the boy too. And more than that, it's a skill that can bring great wealth and status. He repeated in shock, "Great wealth and status." He smiled and explained in detail. He smiles and explains carefully. The items made by Kong Mat are extremely rare and valuable. If we just redesign their appearance to make them more appealing and sell them on the market, we could make a big profit. But then, Dao Tu regretfully dismisses that idea. "Forgive me, but the ones who make the money are the merchants, not the creators like us humble artisans." Humble. He describes the current society. "Weak people like me are just tools for others to command. They say the bear dances, but the money goes to the Wang family." Hearing that, Tai Hao's expression turned serious. His mindset is even more negative than I thought. In the near future, his whole family, including him, will be forced into slavery. If they want to change their fate and escape this tragic exploitation, he clenched his right fist in frustration at the sight. "Then I've decided." Tai Hao called out Kong. He asked seriously, "When you sell pottery, how much of the profit do you get?" He answered hesitantly, "Well, truthfully, it's less than 1/10. Tai Hao held up 4 fingers as an offer. He reached out and persuaded him. "If you agree to contract with Kong Mat, I'll give you 4 shares of the profit. Of course, on the condition that you and Kong Mat come to the Yinhai Trading Group's workshop." Hearing the big deal, he asked skeptically, 4 shares. I don't get why you'd go that far for my kid." He expressed his concerns, and besides the trading group I'm with. "Oh no, never mind. Anyway, give me some time to think about it." Tai Hao listened carefully to his troubles and thought, "As expected, I can't rush him." He nodded understandingly. "Something this important needs time to think through properly. Don't rush. For now, let's step back a bit." Tai Hao slowly stood up, respecting the tea they shared. "Thank you." He turned to leave, adding before stepping out, "I'll be heading back to Hubei in a day or 2. I'll be staying at a place called Yulu Inn for now." His eyes followed to the door as he heard Tai Hao gently say, "If you've decided, come find me." He and his 2 kids bowed to see them off. "All right," he bids farewell. "Well, we'll take our leave then." Everyone exchanges goodbyes, wrapping up today's conversation. Nam crosses her arms and asks, "Is that kid the puppet craftsman you're looking for, sir?" She wonders, "Seeing your expression, Tai Hao, why do you look so down?" He's deep in thought, completely unaware of Ham's questions. Tae-hao stands frozen, feeling deeply regretful inside. He wants to help them, but has no legitimate reason to step in. He grits his teeth in frustration because nothing's happened yet. At the Camtown Merchant Group, the Camtown Merchant leader folds his hands unhappily. That's right, we failed to recover Kong the Craftsman's winnings. Hwang Keklin notices his irritation and bows in apology. My deepest apologies. It's just one unlucky thing after another. He apologetically recounts, the guy we sent got caught by the guards of the third young master from the Ngan High Merchant Group who were passing by, so everything fell apart. Hwang Keklin tries to calm the Camtown Merchant leader. It's just a scheme, but we have another plan ready, so it won't be a problem. He frowns and asks further, have you found out why the youngest son of the High Merchant Group showed up here? Hwang Keklin reports sadly, we've had people watching him for days, but he's just hanging around the village and the market. He sighs upon hearing the unhelpful information. He's probably just here to gain experience in escorting trade routes. I heard he visited Master Kong's house during the day. He carefully recounts, Master Kong said he couldn't let his benefactor leave empty-handed, so he invited him for tea. It's just a coincidence, nothing to worry about. The Camtown Merchant Group responds calmly. Anyway, Master Kong is about to be forced to sign the self-sale contract. He feels frustrated thinking about the absurd situation. Tisk, that arrogant fool, dared to betray my Camtown Merchant Group. And he's even thinking of switching places. All these years, who do you think kept him fed? Hwang Keklin chimes in. That's why they say the lowly will always stay lowly. If Master Kong keeps resisting, just tie him up and bring him here. Hearing that he smirks slyly, we need to teach him a lesson so he knows his place. Night falls with Dao Tu sighing in disappointment. His wife worries and approaches to ask, what are you thinking about that's making you sigh like that? He shares sadly, oh, I've been thinking about the guest we met during the day. She asks curiously, the young master who returned the money pouch you mentioned. Do Tai looks at their two sleeping children and hesitates before saying, yes, he recognized Matt's talent and offered a partnership. He even said he'd split the profits 4 ways for us. The more he thinks about it, the more worried he gets sharing the whole story with his wife. But because it's such a large amount, I can't help but suspect that benefactor's intentions. After years of being cheated, I've become a pathetic, suspicious mess. She becomes suspicious too, and her words surprise Dao Tu. Are you really believing that con artist? She insists, after all, the one who's kept our family of 4 going is the Camtown Merchant Group. He quickly responds, why are you saying that all of a sudden? Have you forgotten how they've treated us? Do Tu's face turns determined as he rejects her idea. When our contract with the Camtown Merchant Group ends, we agreed to find a new job, remember? She just shakes her head in resignation. Yes, I agreed back then, but things are different now. Hearing that, his eyes widen in shock. Suddenly, his wife pulls out a very valuable item. Dao Tu is stunned. Isn't this a gold ingot? My dear, where did you get this? My dear, where did you get this? She explains, actually, I ran into Hwang Keklin from the Camtown Merchant Group in the market earlier. She joyfully recounts, he slipped this into my hand and said to hold on to it until the kids grow up and we can pay it back. Selling this would let our family live comfortably for a while. Isn't that lucky? She turns skeptical. As for Tae-hao and that other young master, the more I think about it, the fishier it seems. Out of nowhere, he shows up promising to split 4 shares of the profits with ordinary folks like us. Those words leave him pale and confused. Seeing his wife's serious face, she concludes, if he's not a con artist, then what is he? With a mother's anxiety, she worriedly looks at her little boy sleeping. How could we hand Matt over to someone like that? Do Tu is completely bewildered and starts pulling at his hair. But suddenly a noise comes from outside, startling him out of his thoughts. Is Master Kong home? Dao Tu wonders curiously. Who could be calling at this hour? When he opens the door, the person continues, you're still up this late? He sees it's Hwang Keklin with his henchmen. Do Tu is puzzled and asks, what brings you here so late with guards? He quickly scolds, ahem, Master Kong, I've always thought you were a reasonable person. Fiang stands quietly in the back observing everything. Hwang Keklin glares at him with a cold, authoritative tone. Even if you're greedy for money, how dare you touch the Camtown Merchant Group's property? Do Tu is confused and asks, what do you mean? Suddenly he remembers something and turns pale. Could it be? The guards start searching the house, leaving him standing frozen. He presses on, mocking, surprise, I never thought you'd be that kind of person. You're still awake like this. Hwang Keklin stands in front of the house, sizing things up. Weren't you planning to run away in the night? Do-Tu's wife stands there trembling in fear. Run away in the night. How could that be? He pushes through his men points to the gold ingot on the table and exclaims, "This gold ingot belongs to the Camtown Merchant Group. The evidence is right there. How can you deny it?" Kong Mat is woken by the noise and rubs his eyes looking for his mom. His mother, terrified, honestly explains, "Forgive my ignorance, sir. I don't understand any of this. You clearly gave this to me during the day and told me to use it for the family's needs," Huang Keklen replies. Then he leans down to pressure Do-Tu's wife. "Do you have a loan agreement? I mean a document proving you officially borrowed money from the Camtown Merchant Group?" She is baffled. "A loan agreement. This is the first I've heard of it. I honestly have no idea what that is." Seeing no response, Huang Keklen turns indifferently to the guards and orders, "That's enough, no more talking. Drag these thieves out now." The couple is carried away by his men into the dark night. Do-Tu's wife cries out for her children, Mat Lai. Do-Tu protests, "Mr. Huang, what are you doing?" The boy sees his parents being taken and panics, running after them. "Mom, Dad." Before he can get out, Kong Mat is stopped by his hand. Huang Keklen pretends to be gentle. "It's just to sign a contract. No need to see them off, you two just wait here and soon." Before he finishes, Kong Lai charges at him and clings to his leg. The girl opens her mouth wide and bites his leg with her sharp little teeth. Huang Keklen jerks back in pain and kicks Kong Lai away. Her small body flies into the cabinet and the force leaves her injured on the floor. The boy rushes over to help his sister Lai. He angrily nurses his sore leg, cursing, "You and your father are all the same idiots. No better than animals. If you're animals, then act like it." As Huang Keklen moves to finish off the siblings, a small knife suddenly embeds in the floor, blocking his path. Huang Keklen turns in surprise and asks his henchman, "Fian, what are you doing?" He remains calm despite the scolding. Fian bends down to pick up the knife stuck in the ground and calls out, "Hey, kid!" His eyes are sharp as he looks at Kong Mat. He hands the knife to the boy. "This situation must be tough on you, right? Take it." His voice is cold and his eyes full of menace, as if seeing right through him. "In this world, nothing gets done without blood. So if you're a man, charge in with everything you've got." Hearing that, Kong Mat's pupils dilate in fear. The boy's hand shakes as he takes the small knife from him. Seizing the chance, Kong Mat quickly carries Kong Lai and runs outside. Huang Keklen sees this and shouts, "Go after them." "Fian, are you just going to let them go?" He grits his teeth and grumbles, "We never said anything about messing with kids." Fian coldly replies to his surprise, "If you're going to make me do dirty work like this, you at least owe me extra pay, right?" With that, Fian turns and walks away, adding, "I'm stuck in this backwater just to make a buck." As he draws his sharp sword, even that money-making gig has gone downhill lately. He swings the sword through the air, creating fierce winds. In one move, the rocks around him turn to dust. Fiang declares in frustration, "Is there no one strong enough to get me excited?" At Tae Hao's place, he exclaims in surprise, "What? Matt is here." Hearing about a guest. Tae Hao quickly changes clothes but wonders, at this late hour and without his parents, where is he now? The door opens to reveal 8-Jiap, worriedly holding the little Kong Lai with Kong Mat covered in injuries. And Nyam, the boy, trembles as he greets, "Hello, sir." He anxiously looks at the unconscious girl in his arms and asks, "What on earth happened?" Tae Hao worries and leans in closer to check. "Both of you have wounds." "What happened?" Kong Mat breaks into sobs as he answers. The story unfolds as the three listen silently to the boy recount everything from start to finish. He and she finish listening and look worried. Knowing the full story, he frowns and blames himself. "This is my fault. Even without any official role, I should have sent someone to protect them." After calming down, Kong Lai is given food and drink by everyone. The girl's appetite is so strong that 8-Jiap next to her is surprised. Tae Hao asks, "Lai, are you okay?" He also praises what a tough little kid. Nyam takes Kong Mat's hand and meets everyone. Nyam takes Kong Mat's hand and meets everyone. Captain Trin Sung has called a doctor, so Kong Lai has already been treated. She reports his condition. Luckily, it's just a few minor scratches. Everything else is fine. Matt has been checked too, and it's nothing serious. Nyam asks the boy, "And I hear you have something to say to the young master." Kong Mat replies, "Yes." The boy bows politely. "You once said my talent could bring big profits." Kong Mat grabs his sleeve and bravely pleads, "If that's true, please save my parents." Tears start rolling down his cheeks as he begs, "I'll work as hard as I can to pay it all back no matter what." "Damn it. Do you think I wanted to be wrong?" No matter how much it is, I'll work really hard to pay it all back. Faced with the plea of such a sensible child, Tae Hao is a bit surprised, but then he smiles gently at Kong Mat. Hearing that Kong Mat sadly asks back, huh? Seeing his stern face, the boy shrinks back in fear. Oh! But his next words make the boy feel a bit relieved. Tae Hao explains patiently, work deserves pay after all. Asking me to use your skills without paying would make me look cheap, wouldn't it? He gently places his hand on the boy's shoulder to encourage him. This makes Kong Mat incredibly happy. I'll sign an official contract with you, and I'll split the profits just as promised. But to do that, we need your parents' approval, so of course we have to bring them here first. Then Tae Hao leaves, not forgetting to tell the boy, Matt, stay here and take care of Lai for me, okay? I'll go get your parents right away. He also bows in thanks to Trin Sung. Captain, thank you for looking after the kids. The captain responds quickly, stating his view, no problem. Knowing the situation, how could I ignore it? As a member of the Ngunhai merchant group, it's the right thing to do. That man is the captain of the Ngan Fong team, Trin Sung. He expresses his concern, it's just that I can't send many people with you, because today is the day for the deal with the Chow Hai merchant group, the main goal of this escort mission. Tae Hao senses his worry and reassures him, it's fine. The boy sees his cold face and shrinks back in fear, yes. Anyway, it's not like we're going to battle. The other side is a delegation, and I'm just here to talk. Hearing this from him, Trin Sung mumbles, just talking. I'll send 3 people from the Silver Wind team with you. Please be careful on your way, young master. He's also pleased with this suggestion. Thank you for your concern. Then he left with Ying Nam and the 8 guards. In that case, we'll take our leave. But before he could finish speaking, someone blocked his path. Ji Hao quickly recognized the person in front of him. Oh, hold on. Oh no, hello, Guo Xiao Tao. He carefully handed a sword to him. I hope you won't have to use it, but if you do make use of this. This sudden action surprised him. He took the sword in his hand, full of confusion. Huh? I haven't even learned sword techniques from my master yet. But he quickly calmed down. Anyway, thank you very much. Guo Mingshan also quickly left. All right, then I'll take my leave. He used telepathic communication. To convey his thoughts to Shi Hao. They say there's a master named Flying Eagle in the Zhengan trading group. Be extremely careful with him. This information left him stunned as he wasn't up to speed. As he finished transmitting, he looked at him with deep worry, repeatedly advising, in the martial world, you absolutely can't let your guard down. His next words left Shi Hao speechless, sweating profusely. And besides, when you return, young master still has to train tonight. Please conserve your energy properly. Yes, I understand. After hearing his master's instructions, he opened the door. In that case, I'll be going. Shi Hao shouted loudly, boosting everyone's spirits. Let's go, time to get to work. The people behind him were full of energy. Yes, sir. In a certain house, a voice echoed everywhere. Kong Yi Ren, you really don't understand. What's your own situation? That's the voice of Zhengan Trading Master. Your wife has tampered with the assets of the Zhengan Trading Group. It's no small thing. It's gold yuan bao worth 100 taels of gold. He said this while mesmerized by the gold ingot in his hand. According to the rules, you have to compensate me 5 times that amount. But where are you going to get that kind of assets? He kept insisting that his wife and he were innocent. No, I've said it so many times, we never stole anything. But he ignored it completely. So stop being stubborn. Just sign this self-sale contract and be done with it. Once you sign, it'll be like nothing ever happened. His anger boiled over at how shameless he was. He gritted his teeth, his anger boiling over at how shameless he was. Trading Master, aren't you afraid of heaven's judgment? Acting worse than animals, it's utterly despicable. Huang Geling slapped him across the face. He kept spewing insults. Right now, the Trading Master's word is law and heaven. Got it, you worthless pest, he kept beating and tormenting him. A soon-to-be slave daring to talk back to his master needs a beating to wise up right. The Trading Master is still being lenient, and you're not appreciating it. He was beaten until his head spun, both cheeks flushed red. With blood pouring from his nose. His wife beside him was extremely worried but couldn't do anything. Husband Zhengan Trading Master sat above him, feeling completely satisfied but still acting all moral and compassionate. Haha, Huanggeling, what's going on here? I told you not to use violence. Kong Yiren, let's try to settle this like civilized people. If I report this to the authorities now, you and your wife along with your kids will be sold off to some remote place no one knows. Wouldn't it be better for you to just stay and work under me? His words made him realize the Trading Master's true motive. He was furious. Is it really just because I said I'd leave the trading group at the end of this month that you pulled this stunt? He still played dumb, acting like he didn't get it. I have no idea what you're talking about. Right after he coldly ordered, in that case, there's no other way, hand them over to the authorities. Zhengan Trading Master couldn't hide his evil nature anymore. Zhengan Trading Master couldn't hide his evil nature anymore. He laughed slyly and triumphantly. Once they're sold as slaves and suffering so badly they'd wish for death, they'll learn their place. I hear plenty of people can't take the slavery and end up killing themselves. He kept threatening, but looking at your stubbornness, I bet your kids will be even tougher, huh? His spirit started to waver. I know I was wrong, sir. Zhengan Trading Master perked up at those words. Oh dear, must be getting old. My ears aren't what they used to be. Huang Geling beside him laughed triumphantly, too. Yeah, really getting up there, huh? Then he shouted threateningly, You there, Konghead, why aren't you bowing and apologizing properly, making Zhengan Trading Master wait like this? That jerk. He was completely desperate now and quickly pressed his face to the ground to apologize. I was wrong, I really was wrong, I didn't know my place. His face was covered in blood as he kept begging. Whatever self-sale contract or anything, I'll do it all, just please. Please spare the kids, spare my children, I beg you. Hearing that, he was finally satisfied and gave the order. Let him go. His subordinates quickly acknowledged the order. He signaled to Huang Geling to bring the contract over. See if you'd done this from the start, wouldn't it have been better? Guess you had to get beaten to understand what people are saying. But before he could hand over the contract, something flew straight into his face. The people around were immediately shocked and confused, and he took a massive door right to the face. Xihao had arrived just in time. He was the one who kicked the door. That's right. Huang Geling was extremely surprised to see him, and he walked in confidently. There are people who only learn after getting a beating. People like you, for instance. Xihao carried the sword on his shoulder full of presents. I really intended to just come and talk today. He even brushed off his feet around, but what can I say? I accidentally kicked your door down. Since it's already done, I guess today we'll have to finish by beating a few guys. He slammed the sword down on the ground. Xihao tried to hold back his anger and coldly asked, All right, so who wants to get beaten first? Huang Geling was shocked. Who are you? The assistants quickly helped Zhengan Trading Master up. He was still yelling, Huang Geling, who is that guy? What does he think he's doing? He stammered back. He's the youngest son of Yin Hai Trading Group, sir. He immediately sneered. Oh, so it's you, the little rat from Yin Hai Trading Group who's been snooping around Kimxian Village these past few days? Xihao leaned on his sword and calmly replied. We've had people watching you the whole time, so of course we know. I know all about you too without any dirty spying like you do. He was clearly annoyed by his mocking tone. You... Zhengan Trading. Master felt insulted and shouted, You little punk, who do you think you're talking to? What do you even know? Before he could finish, he cut him off. A lowlife who tricks good people into signing self-sale contracts, I know you all too well. He kept jabbing at him, blinded by greed and throwing away your humanity, you're no better than an animal. Just hearing that Yin Hai Trading Group is coming made you so scared you had to tell us what a petty villain. He kept teasing him. Because of people like you, everyone thinks merchants are all con artists. Bajia standing nearby added more. Spot on, that mustache looks just like a scam artist's disguise. Luckily, just looking at your face screams fraud, so anyone dealing with you would back off for sure. Xihao's group was still planning to tease more. What's next? Oh, right. Then he got so angry he started shaking and spoke up. But he didn't seem to notice still chatting cheerfully with Ying Nam. What if that guy with the handlebar tries to flirt? She'd just brush it off and give him a solid hit. Jufong is a fist technique that draws beautiful paths like blooming bamboo. Zhengan Trading Master saw and shouted, ordering his subordinates to grab that jerk right now. His subordinates quickly drew their swords, each one surrounding Xihao's group, with weapons pointed. Then the three of them charged straight at him. But he just stood there, letting his subordinates handle it. Yingnam, with her quick skills, disarmed the opponent with one move. She smiled brightly, full of energy. It's been a while since she got to move around. A kick straight to one's face, then a spinning kick that dropped the other before he knew what hit him. Each kick and sword strike from Yingnam sent the opponents flying. They just collapsed and gave up. Finally, she gave the last one a powerful kick that slammed his head into the ground. And she was completely relaxed about it. Xihao's remaining subordinates stood there frozen in shock at the scene. Weren't we just here to talk? That's intense. Hao was still casually leaning on his sword, lightly suggesting, "Now that the area is all cleared up, let's have a chat." Zhengan, trading master, and Huang Geling, after seeing all their subordinates defeated, were shaking like leaves. He hid behind Huang Geling, his voice trembling as he ordered, "Go on! What are you waiting for? Block him!" He stammered back, "Sir, you know I haven't learned any martial arts." He gritted his teeth, still shaking, as he muttered, "Darn it, that worthless flying eagle, where the heck is he? I hired him exactly for situations like this." Suddenly, a cold voice rang out behind Hao, making him jump. "Looking for me?" Zhengan, trading master, agreed loudly and angrily scolded, "Yeah, you worthless piece. Where have you been hiding all this time? What took you so long? You planning to freeload?" But Flying Eagle calmly walked in and mocked him a bit with a hint of threat. "Freeload. Looking at the situation now, I doubt you'll even afford the deposit starting tomorrow, trading master." Those words already worried him. He had a smug grin as he continued ignoring Zhengan, trading master. "So let me propose new terms, 10 times the deposit, and I'll get you out of this mess." He was fuming and worried, his face scrunched up. "You greedy, shameless bastard, fine!" As he finished speaking, his sword was already drawn and ready. 10 times it is." Hao quickly noticed his move and was surprised, shouting a warning, but it was too late. His speed slashed through a few guards nearby. "Watch out." Ba Jia quickly ducked and covered his head in time. He slashed in a flash without moving an inch. His eyes flashed with killing intent as his hand swung. Hao agilely blocked the sword. The clash of the swords rang out. He angrily faced him through the crossed blades. "How dare you?" He still smugly taunted. "What if you want go ahead and try to buy me off?" Zhengan, trading master, was surprised and worried, quietly asking, "Is Flying Eagle really going to lose to that kid?" The orders watched excitedly as the fight unfolded. Flying Eagle may look that way, but he's a first-rate master who's reached that level young as he is. With the right opportunity, he could become a top-tier expert. He looked a bit skeptical. First-rate, top-tier, what exactly does that mean? He kept his eyes on the fight, explaining to Zhengan, trading master. Lots of people in the martial world train their whole lives and only end up at second-rate at best. Then he got excited thinking about the seriousness of first-rate. And if you reach first-rate, you could lead a small sect. And top-tier? Do I even need to say, and top-tier? Do I even need to say? The orders grinned smugly, praising Flying Eagle to him. So how could that brat be a match for him? Hearing that, Zhengan, trading master, got even more excited, smiling confidently. "That's right, exactly. Go on, Flying Eagle. Teach that arrogant kid some martial world manners." Their swords clashed faster and faster. Flying Eagle was gradually being pushed back. Hao's eyes were serious with a slight smile. "Buy me off. Let's see about that. If you're just something money can buy, I've got plenty." He saw his disrespectful words and reminded him. A noble young master talking so wildly. A friendly sword reminder from him. He easily dodged it. "You might pay dearly soon." The swords clashed back and forth from high to low, evenly matched. His earlier reminder sword was quickly returned by him, but he just calmly scoffed in disdain. The battle's atmosphere is getting even more tense. He took the opportunity when you had an opening and went straight for it. He quickly kicked hard into Hao's chest, but you countered fast with a strong punch to his chest. Both of them leaped back at the same time. He grinned and covered the bruise on his chest with his hand, thinking you were just some weak scholar, but man, your hit packed a punch. Suddenly, his tone changed. He pulled something out from his robe. "But hey, this martial arts stuff!" Fayan shouted a threat and hurled the gourd of wine straight at you. "It's not that easy to take me down, got it?" By instinct, Hao swiftly slashed the wine jug in half. The wine from the jug splashed into your eyes, making it impossible to open them. At that moment, Hao had to stay calm, keeping his eyes shut tight and thinking. Fire powder. The stinging was unbearable. Eyes wouldn't open. What now? I have to think this through. Everything around you was pitch black. Damn it, can't see a thing, such a hassle. Wait a minute, hassle? Suddenly you recalled the words Min Hien had taught you. The Thiumbung Haitan Kung was created based on the harshness of the winter sea. Its wonders are as deep as the ocean. He stayed calm with a serene expression, imagining and gently explaining. The more you master this technique, the more you'll feel uneasy around those with impure energy, like dark path followers or evil beings. Hao was a bit confused and asked, "Isn't feeling uneasy a bad thing?" Hearing that, he still had his eyes closed and softly explained, "Not at all. It's actually a huge advantage because it means enemies with bad intentions can't hide from your energy sense. After hearing that, you quickly shut your eyes tight and wondered inwardly, can I reach that level? In my past life, I never developed my energy sense that far. Even though you didn't say it out loud, Min Hien picked up on it and explained. Of course, with your current level, you're probably just at a vague discomfort from the edge of first-rate heading toward the peak. At that stage, you can sense some of your opponent's movements and positions. This surprised Taehao a little. Wow, it's like you can read my mind. Then he added a reminder. So never slack off on training someday in a life-or-death situation. That sharpened energy sense will be your best weapon. Min Hien's final words surprised you even more. It'll become more powerful than any forged sword. At that moment, Taehao's body was enveloped in a green aura. With a calm expression, you're starting to feel it a bit now. Your energy sense now covers the entire room, because I've trained so hard every day like it's do or die. In an instant before Fion's sword, you sensed it. Taehao quickly dropped down to dodge his sword from behind. Just a simple strike. Then you swiftly elbowed him hard in the side, making him wince in pain. After that, he had to back away quickly. He's so fast that I didn't notice when he moved. He grumbled, clutching his throbbing side. But how did you know I'd attack from behind in that state? Taehao thought to himself, this guy, his sword skills are as basic as it gets compared to his inner energy. You quickly wiped the wine from your eyes and smirked mockingly. Who knows, if you're that curious, you should pay up. Info doesn't come free. Though angry, Fion still smiled with interest. You little jerk, Tom Jap was holding his chest, and the guards panicked, begging Nam for help. The blood won't stop. What do we do? She snapped back irritably. What else? Press harder on it, duh. But then she glanced at the other guard lying there, spitting blood, which worried her. Not enough hands. Then Nam's eyes shifted to the father and son, hugging nearby, panicking them both. Next, her gaze turned to Chan Cam, the merchant, and his men. Seeing her look, they froze stiff. Merchant, we're requesting to withdraw. Nam's face turned serious as she ordered. Get over there right now and stop the bleeding for the wounded. Move. They scrambled like robots to carry out the order. On Fion's side, he was wildly charging with his sword toward Taehao, but you dodged it effortlessly and gracefully. Then you just stood there calmly watching him fall and roll. Taehao looked at him with a calm face. Time to clean up now, huh? Ignoring him as he angrily turned his head with rage. This guy dodged all my sword strikes like he saw them coming. But then he broke into an excited smile. This is the most fun I've had in ages. Fian threw his sword hard into the ground. What are you doing? Are you giving up or what? Right after he got into a fighting stance and explained. Totally the opposite. I'm just reluctant to use my sect's secret techniques and get my hands dirty over this. Hearing that, your eyes flashed with surprise. Young master of the Ganhai Merchant Guild, I admit you're a powerhouse. From now on, Fian will face you with everything I've got. After that, you just smiled calmly and sheathed your sword. So that's why a first-rate expert's swordplay is so plain. Now I get it. Finally, Taehao calmly tossed the sword to Tom Jap with full trust. Tom Jap, I'm leaving this to you. Yam saw that and got a little worried. What are you planning? Then he cheerfully introduced himself to him. I'm Taehao from the Ganhai Merchant Guild, making my first appearance in the martial world. It seems you're skilled in long-range fist techniques, so let me use the fist style I've learned to take you on. With that, both faced off in a tense standoff. In my past life, martial arts was just a means to survive. Taehao spoke carefully, and I thought that would never change. Taehao spoke carefully. Please teach me a precise move, Senior. This made him a bit puzzled. Senior Fian confidently stared at you with a smile. You're really hitting the spot with me. All right, I'll teach you a move. Taehao's face was cheerful and calm, ready for the fight. But now everything's different this life compared to the last. Without another word, he charged straight at you. I want to be way stronger. His hands moved swiftly like a snake launching a deadly strike straight at your face. Double heart exposure forced you to step back reflexively. Taehao's eyes were focused, observing his opponent. That carefree attitude from earlier was gone. You looked at his stance and aura, thinking to yourself, the martial arts he has is the real deal. Despite 22 people attacking, he unleashed powerful strikes, creating fierce gusts of wind. Fian carefully observed every move you made, analyzing. When clashing directly, I can clearly feel that my fist techniques are a step above this young master. He threw a series of punches. But you just leaned aside and dodged them all without a scratch. Fian was stunned by Taehao's smooth moves. How is he blocking everything? His cold eyes focused intensely on you. Why can't my fist techniques touch him? His eyes showed no reaction, and there's no sign he learned from any orthodox school. In response, Fion only saw your calm eyes hiding a determined fire. Who the heck is he? When he got distracted, you quickly punched Fion straight in the face. He flew back from the hit angrily cursing. Damn it! Painful memories flooded back. The first thing Fion remembered was the gray sky and crows from his childhood. As a kid, he was skinny skin, clinging to bones, eyes, sunken hands, shaking lips, cracked, just sitting against the wall, waiting to die. Is this the end for me? Suddenly someone approached and spoke with pity. Those eyes are not what a child should have at that age. Fion jolted and looked at the tall figure coming closer, casting a shadow over him. Lost child, if you don't want to die here, why not come with me? He gave a kind, forgiving smile, like a father to Fion. The scene shifted to a man being pinned against the wall, screaming in agony. What are you doing? He gripped the guy's collar and lifted him higher. A client hired me to teach you a lesson. The man trembled and offered, if it's about money, I can pay you more. How much do you want? Fion coldly asked back. Hard to say how much can you offer. Suddenly a porcelain bottle flew toward him, but Fion dodged to the side, along with an angry shout from Fion's master. He's told you 1,000,000 times not to use martial arts on the weak. Standing in front of him, he yelled, if you keep living like this, get out of my sight. Don't ever show your face to me again. Faced with that anger, Fion calmly replied, yes, master, don't worry. I'm just here to say goodbye for the last time. Fion's master was so furious he coughed up blood. This guy, even at the end, calmly said, Master, I was born on the streets, so all I learned is this much. What's wrong with making a living with my fists? His health was fading, and he couldn't stand collapsing to the ground. You foolish disciple! Fion's master frowned, looking at him with disappointment. The fists of someone who only chases desires will never hold anything worthwhile. One day you'll have to reflect on my words. Then one day, he had a knife to his throat with a man threatening in broad daylight. You think you're tough beating people left and right, but you don't know how scary life can be, do you? The guy gripped the sharp knife, smirking. The street thugs who don't know martial arts still know how to gang up. You jerk! The man tightened his grip on Fion's collar, cursing, when you go to the afterlife, don't complain too much. This is all karma coming for you. He didn't respond, just stared silently. Suddenly, blood splattered everywhere. Fiang alone wiped out the whole group barehanded. His cold eyes looked at his bloody fist like a trophy, because he remembered his master's words, I've told you so many times not to use martial arts on the weak. Suddenly, his attention turned to a small knife on the floor. Fion bent down to pick up the weapon without hesitation or thought. His fingers gripped the cold steel handle. A voice chimed in with admiration. Wow, that's impressive. Trancam the merchant smiled slyly and reached out to Fion. Those guys were a thorn in my side anyway. Thanks to you, I didn't have to lift a finger to deal with them. So interested in working for me? Faced with that sweet offer, he stayed silent. Then Fion boldly smiled and asked, how much can you pay? He thought to himself, if I'm going to live, I have to live with my head held high, proud and strong. Back to the present, Fion's body was battered and speechless. He immediately channeled all his inner energy to spring up, his eyes full of hatred as he charged at Tai Hao and collapsed in that lowly spot. You opened your eyes wide in shock looking at Fion. Each of his movements unleashed the Saton Tia Chao technique. Fion threw a barrage of punches at Tai Hao. He lunged in, attacking you. Tai Hao spun to dodge the hand strikes. Unfortunately for him, Fion landed a hit on one of Tai Hao's shoulders. He smiled triumphantly, got you. Now Fion lightly landed right next to Tai Hao. He charged in for the finishing blow, time to go. Suddenly, Fion's heel froze solid, stopping him in his tracks. Fion had no choice but to leap forward toward you. His punch just grazed by inches away. It was only a breath away from Tai Hao. His master's words echoed in Fion's mind. The fists of someone who only chases desires will never hold anything worthwhile. Seizing his distraction, you gathered your strength, making your hand glow with green energy. Tai Hao built up momentum for a powerful punch to end the fight. His master's words kept echoing in Fion's head. One day you will definitely have to reflect on what I said. He's still bewildered as he finally realizes the ancient teachings. Master was right. He charged forward with a thunderous punch, slamming it straight into Fion's face, making him flip back before he could blink. He's still lost in the memories from visiting Master's grave. In the end, my fist couldn't hold anything. Taking massive damage, Fion was sent flying miles away. His injuries were so severe that he vomited blood. That attack also drained a lot of Tai Hao's strength. He was panting and shaking his hand to ease the pain. Finally, Tai Hao sighed wearily, ending the fight. He politely clasped his hands and thanked Faion. That move was really worth learning. Cut to scene. Tu shyly expresses his gratitude to him. My family owes a great debt to the Yinxia Trading Group and the young master. I don't know how to repay this kindness. Tai Hao scratched his head awkwardly and replied, Don't say that I just did what I wanted. He looked confused and asked, What do you mean? The criminal history of the Chancam Trading Group ended completely last night. At first, the Chancam trading leader denied all his crimes, but when the officers presented the gold ingots he owned, he went silent. Tai Hao held the fake item in his hand and smiled. As you can see, it's all fake. The old man turned pale with fear. How did you know about that? The official exclaimed in surprise, as expected. He smiled smugly, recalling how in his past life he was beheaded for counterfeiting coins. Those gold ingots were just for show, so how could they be real? The entire Yinxia trading group was arrested. Huang Galing complained from behind in frustration. Ha, isn't this trading leader a bit stingy, even making fake gold? Chancam trading leader shouted angrily, Shut up, you fool! And with that, the matter was temporarily resolved. But Tai Hao still felt uneasy, frowning because he hadn't caught everyone. Meanwhile, Faion had slipped away quietly during the chaos. He gave a warm, humble smile. Kong Yiren, I'm just an ordinary merchant. Helping you benefits me, so that's why I stepped up. Though I won't ignore injustice. But Toer sadly bowed his head. I don't know what I can offer you. But if it's something I can do, anything goes. Tai Hao admired his sincerity and said straightforwardly, I like that. In that case, he directly made his proposal, Please entrust your son to me. Wait, no, please accept this contract. Toer was confused by those words. I must have misheard. Oh, do you mean what we talked about that day? Tai Hao happily nodded in agreement with his thought. Back home during the family meal, Toer immediately called his eldest son Kong Mi. Tai Hao smiled and waved at the boy. You haven't forgotten your promise to me, right? Kong Mi's face turned red with surprise. His gentle eyes still looked at the boy with full trust. That night, in a luxurious palace glittering under the high moon, a maidservant respectfully poured tea. The mysterious person raised the cup and drank. So the Song clan leader has gone to the Yinxia Trading Group. She, with the bruise on her face, nodded slightly. The other maidservants surrounded the bath to attend to the person inside. She smirked with delight. This is starting to get interesting.